Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I believe we are live. Technology is so much fun sometimes. But I'm coming on today with a special guest, and I will let her introduce herself in just a moment. You should be able to see both of us. Let's see. I'm going to make sure. Making sure it's multi-speaker. So that's what it should be. Let me grab my phone and make sure. So today we are coming on to do a live to talk about healing. And the reason that I'm doing this is because number one, I do whatever God nudges me to do.
Right.
Good morning, Amy. Amy Hutchinson is here. How is your visual of us, Amy? Can you see both of us? Can you hear us? Lisa, go ahead and talk. I don't know if it's like
Hey, Amy.
selective speaker.
I can't see the comments, so I'm
Yes.
just going with what Bree says, but
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
glad you're here. Thanks.
She can't see the comments. It should be side by side speaker. I've said that twice, but it's, you know how technology goes. So if it's just me speaking that you can see me and her speaking that you can see her, then so be it, right? But you should be able to see her beautiful face. You can see us both. Sweet. So there are other people here. So just welcome everybody. I'm glad you're here. So I want to talk today about healing because healing is so important right now, right? And I think so we do switch back and forth. Okay. Well, I mean, what else? Let me end that. Shouldn't hear me double. Okay. So I tried to fix it. I don't know if it did or not. It is what it is. But I'm going to talk. She's going to talk. Oop, I think I fixed it. Yeah, I might have fixed it. Whoop, whoop. Okay. The reason I'm here today with a very special guest, and Amy could be here too, rightfully so, honestly. So I'm really glad she's in the comments because with her permission, yay, we're both here. With her permission, I might even bring in some things that she has said too, because yay, sweet. Thanks you guys for letting me know. They said we are both here now, so I'm glad. God actually nudged us to do this because with healings, right? We need so much healings. The ascension is truly about healing. It's like all this energy coming in to heal, right? Amy says, hi back, Lisa. And so, but I feel like there are so many misunderstandings of healing because it's so complex. Like it's so layered, it's so complex, there's so much to it. And let's be truthful. In the ascension, healing should be about the totality of who you are rather than this moment and this lifetime, right? It goes very, very deep. And so I feel like Amy says we have her permission. Whoop, whoop. Thank you, my dear, because you said something special the other day that I want to make sure I include, and God put it in there. So I think it's important to talk about a personal healing journey and what it has meant. Heather says, hello, I am Heather. Hello, Heather. We are so glad you are here too.
Hi, Heather.
Yeah. And so I will introduce Lisa, and God is going to kind of direct this, right? Like he nudged this live, and we've both been amazed on her journey, quite honestly, because yes, I am the one providing a lot of the healings. Granted, it can't happen if she didn't allow it to happen, right? So it
True.
does take two people coming together. It does take intention. And we're going to circle back to that word a couple times because what your intention is matters, right?
Yes,
And
it
I've had
does.
multiple clients. Yeah. And I've had multiple clients since my awakening. And I know that some things that I do are for the ascension. Well, let's face it, all things really are because that's what we're here for right now. And that's what I do. But there's just so many layers to that. Okay. And so we're going to kind of talk about the complexity of that, but also her personal journey in that. And it isn't just her, it's affected. And I think
Yep.
that's super important to understand too. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself because she is such a beautiful light and she should have that opportunity to do so. I know her as Lisa. Um, I have actually worked with Lisa for a better part of 2 years now, almost. And she met me while I was still bringing through the ascension. And so but again, that is not all that I do, right? I do personal healings and one-on-ones. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Miss Lisa.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lisa. I started working with Bree in April of 23. Um, Came across her through a friend and have like jumped into the deep end immediately. It was towards the tail end of all the Ascension Pyramid activations that I
Sweet.
knew nothing about, understood zero of, was barely awake. I mean, like barely awake. And goodness, just just kind of held on for the ride. It made no expectations of trying to understand or I just knew. I knew that from the very first healing that I received from her. And we might talk about that a little bit later, but in general, that very first healing was what she found things within my physical vessel. She did a medical healing on me that she found things within my physical vessel that specialists that I had just came from hours before said they couldn't find. And it was in that moment that I said, I don't know who this woman is, but she's somebody I need to listen to. So, and from that point forward, it was just kind of like, okay, I didn't get it. I had no idea, but I knew in my heart of hearts that I was meant to be here. I was meant to be on this journey. I was meant to walk this path. And in in the totality of it all, I was meant to evolve. My soul was meant to grow. And as Bree has used the word intention, that was my intent. My intent, my soul brought me to her. My soul kept me with her. And even in amongst all the darkness and the shadow and the battling for who I am becoming, every time I got knocked down, I still persevered and got right back up. And I owned my own crap. We'll say that. I owned my own crap. I apologized when I needed to. I have learned forgiveness of self, and I just keep moving.
Yes. Yes. And I
It's
love
been
some
a
of the
road.
key things you have said. So I need you guys to understand is her and I did not meet before this. I mean, not that we haven't worked together, but I didn't even tell her the questions I was going to ask for this live or anything. Like
No,
we just met like
that's
5 minutes
correct.
ago and we're like, are you ready to go live? And I'm so glad because I want it to be authentic. This is truth. This is a space of truth. There is no dictation, there is no falsehoods, and there is no lies able to even be in this space. Okay. So everything she is saying is true. However, she doesn't even know what I was going to ask her yet. Expectations are going to come out today because um, I was actually going to start with your first experience of your healing with me. Now let's slow down a little bit because it is so layered and complex. Um, the very first time you met me, give the platform and give exactly what happened if you don't mind. And we're just going to kind of break this down a little bit because it was layered. It was, and there's so much to digest. Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Perfect.
So it was on Facebook. And like I mentioned, it was I found you through a friend who had a healing, who shared with me her experience, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was just drawn to need to know who you are then, and you know, get a healing for myself, experience this for me. And so you didn't know me. I'd never even been to anything. I hadn't seen anything of yours yet, not one thing. I hadn't even seen my friend's healing. I hadn't seen anything. But I scheduled, or I came onto that live because I seen that you were doing live healings, and I'm like, okay. And quite honestly, it was less expensive. I didn't care if anybody saw. I mean, like that didn't bother me. I was like, okay, it was about the money. I wasn't working at the time, and I needed a discount. I took it. Nonetheless, it was on Facebook. You didn't know me. The only thing that you could see was my profile picture and my name. 100%. That was all that you knew of me. And you you hit on several things, but the most profound truly was two things. I At the time I wasn't able to breathe well. I was actually on a portable oxygen can because I could not breathe. Oh, you may not have known that or
No,
remembered
I
that.
didn't even know that to this day. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
She's right.
Yep.
I
So
don't know anything about her. She just came to one of my lives that I do. I do lives. for sure.
Yep.
So go
Well,
ahead.
I could not breathe. Like I couldn't, it was like, I couldn't explain it because nobody could. I mean, I had spent time in the hospital, the ER, having x-rays, I mean, like mass amounts of testing done, and nobody could get to the bottom of it. And in that healing, you found gray matter between my chest, my chest cavity wall, and my lungs. And you said, I don't know what this is, but it doesn't belong, and let's get rid of it. And from that day forward, not a bit of oxygen was ever needed, and I could breathe again. And that's impressive. First of all, let's give props to that, because huge. That was enormously impactful in my life, my daily activities, what I could do, how I lived. But something else that came through that was equally as impactful, and that had been hindering my health for over a year. Excuse me, a little releasing there going on.
Good. Love it.
And I had said in my introduction that I was like 2 or 3 hours before that healing, I had come from the getting results from a specialist on an endoscopy I had done, because I was having so much pain every time that I would start to eat, and certain things more than others. But it got to the point where it hurt so bad that it's like, somebody's got to figure this out for me, please. And I had come from the results of that, where they told me that there was no remarkable findings. And I'm like, well, this is frustrating. Go through everything that I went through and nothing. And I come into this healing, and this beautiful soul right here came and found, and these are my words now, because I don't remember exactly what it was that you said, and my interpretation of it, but it was like there was like a fold in my esophagus that connected between my esophagus and my stomach, and underneath that flap, which is why they couldn't see it, because it was covered up, and it had to be at certain times, maybe when it lifted or whatever, that they saw it. That my medical interpretation, I don't know. But you found that, and there was like a hole there, and it was allowing the stomach acids to just constantly, like an ulcer, but that wasn't the word you used, that you used, like there was actual hole in my stomach lining, between the esophagus and my stomach lining. And you found that, and I remember just sitting here going, oh, did she really just say this? Did she really do that? Oh my gosh, how did she know this? And like, it was so profound to me, so utterly profound. And I was on medication for that, that I was taking like 3 to 4 times a week. And I had taken it the day before our healing, which I believe was a Thursday. And I never took that medication again.
Oh, I just got chills. See, I didn't know all of this. Even to this day, we've never fully talked about that experience. Oh,
So
she's like, I know that.
you prove, I mean, right out the gate, there was like, I didn't know who you were.
No.
And I know you didn't even fully know who you were at that time, but I had none, zero, zilch inclination as to who you were, what your abilities were, or any expectations whatsoever that you would heal those things,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say is, how often do you know that you're gonna go to a healing and you think medical type stuff, right? Like when you
Zero.
hear the word spiritual healing, like do
Yeah.
you think that's what's gonna come through?
No.
Yeah,
But I
right?
didn't even know what to think, because I mean,
No.
is the word for me now, you say that spiritual healing, like I didn't even put it to that. I didn't even know what I was, I just seen what my friend had gone through and went, and hers, if memory serves, there wasn't any medical healing. It was very spiritual, and the things that she explained, and we're not here to talk about her healing, but for on the spiritual side of stuff, like that word didn't even come into my mind. Like I wasn't even there. Like,
Yeah.
I was not awake, truly. Like
Yeah.
I was having experiences of my own on a minor scale, if you will. And I think God was aligning me with certain things. Like he was allowing me to see certain things, and I was working on myself. I had started to do that. but I was a long way from where I am today. Let's be clear. Like,
You've gone far. Yeah.
holy cow, to the
Yeah.
point where, excuse me, more releasing.
I love the releasing. I love that you're doing that. I love that. Well, I'm going to stop you a little bit because I want to keep this kind of like you keep going into this is how I told you it's going to come from the heart. God's guiding this. We are not. Like she doesn't know what I'm going to ask her. Um but so that's what I was going to say is you've been on this healing journey. So that was your first experience with me is on
Yep.
Facebook. Random ass showing up, right? Like you didn't know me, I didn't know you, never talked to you. I don't like to absolutely. I love how she's this person on YouTube. Let me fill you in on the comments first of all before we go too fast, right? That's why I want to give a little break too. Roger's here. So I
Hi,
told him to
Roger.
say hello. Yeah. So Lisa says, hello, Roger. It's good that you're here. We love it when you guys are all here. Of course, Amy's here still. And then let me go. Heather, I want to make sure I get I love how she spells her name on YouTube. It's Earther Hay, right? Ether Hay. I love that. But her name is Heather, and Heather says, You're here for a reason, talking to myself. So I love how she said that. Yes, God has a tendency to direct us where we need to go. But the problem with that is we can block ourselves.
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes, expectations are huge. And you mentioned that when we first started talking, because so many people come into the word healing alone with expectations. And I see this a lot. And sometimes I've had the experience that when they come into a healing with me, they're expecting something. And what I bring is vast. I try to make it very minimal. I try, but I'm just a channel, right? And what I bring is vast. And to understand the totality of that takes processing. It truly does. It takes time, right? It takes a moment of giving yourself space to understand what just happened. And when we have expectations, we don't give ourselves that time. We might see something and go, well, that's not what I expected. So, oh, this can't be right, right? And we'll shut down. Or the vast majority of time you hear healing, the word healing, you think energetic, you think chakra systems sometimes, right? Or you may not have any clue what it means. I'm just going to show up. I've been going to therapists and doctors and I don't feel good still, right? So I'm just going to try this avenue and I'm going to show up. But
Exactly.
yes, but the totality of it and what we've experienced in this journey among those who do work with me, who push past that resistance and work with me, it's been profound experiences. So let's go back to why we're truly here and what's been happening with you. So on your healing journey, your very first one with me was a random live. Sometimes I will do free healings on live, sometimes I will do donation based. And she is referring to a donation based,
Sorry,
which
my dogs.
no, that's okay. I didn't even hear it, but I
Oh,
love
okay.
animals. No problem if they want to join in. I love your fur babies. So that's kind of what I was going to talk about is their cue. Your first healing experience was a donation-based live. From
Yes.
that moment to now, briefly describe the different types of healings you've had with me, if
Oh,
you do.
wow. Yeah.
And not
Boy,
just
they've
you,
run the,
like all of the
they,
healings you've
yeah,
brought to my space and that you've had.
that has run the gamut, hasn't it?
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
had full circles all over.
Yes, I have. So it started with me, obviously, and it didn't take very long, actually. I want to say it was like 2 months later that my oldest dog had his first healing. And his name is Goose. In fact, here they are. I don't know if you can see them, all
Babies.
three.
Aw.
They all want out now because they heard something. Goose is the gray one. Um, he had his first healing. He wasn't doing well. And So he got his first healing. That was incredible. You helped us through a very traumatic time where my dogs had got poisoned accidentally. And and Goose took the brunt of that. So he got his first healing, helped through that. Then, I mean, even just the types of healings that I had have run from the medical, obviously, to spiritual, to emotional, mental. I mean, it was, let's see, April, May, 2 months, 2 months, only 2 months. 2 months later, from the time I had my first healing with you, I was off all of my psychiatric meds I had been on for about 25 plus years.
Oh.
I had just kept hearing you in my head tell me, you know, it it's hard to heal through the medications, and I didn't feel like they were working for me anyway, to be, you know, to be completely honest. Like, I just knew it wasn't quite right, but I knew I needed help. I just didn't know what that help was.
And let's be
But then,
clear, I don't claim to be a doctor and I didn't tell her to do
correct.
anything. Okay.
No,
I
nope,
just,
this was on me. This
yeah,
was
in
my
order to do
choice.
healings, I have to detox your body first,
Hmm.
because medications block our receptors. And so she was witnessing this, but not only witnessing it, you were feeling it. And so
Yes.
I just wanted to be clear that I don't claim to tell her what to do with medications.
Nope. Nope.
Mm.
But I made a choice to stop taking all of my meds. I went off slowly. So, the, you know, and for those of you out there thinking, oh, she just, nope, nope. I tapered off. I did, you know, how you should, and so there would be no nasty ramifications, you know, on my body and what have you. Nonetheless, um, fast forward through all of that. Um, Fast forward 1 year, in fact, 1 year, because at the end of June, I think it was like the middle to end of June this year now, um, I had presented an opportunity to my father, and I
Oh
asked
yeah,
my
wait, hold that
father,
thought. Hold that thought.
oh,
Hold that thought.
okay,
That's really good. And we're going to deep dive into that too, because that's going to lead us into the family ties, because this isn't just a physical healing journey. When you work with me, you realize that it truly is about a rebirth of life. It truly is about letting go of what we're not on levels you cannot fathom, that you cannot fathom until you get there.
yep,
Right. And so that's where oh, the chills are overwhelming. That's where and I love how we didn't talk about this live. She is going from her heart, just like I asked her to do, and she knows what's already coming. And I'm like, well, hang on. Like, like when expectations are involved, you know, we think we live in such a limited space of reality in the world around us. We truly do. And an awakening is great. Like she said, she was on somewhat of an awakening when she met me, but eventually she did my path to righteousness.
yes, I
And
did.
the awakening in that is more profound than any awakening you can ever imagine. So she started out with the physical healings, and then she went into work, bless her heart. She came in at the end of the Return of Christ work. And when I say that, people are going to go, yeah, right. Like what, you know, they don't understand it. And
Mm.
she actually partook in the endings of the pyramid healings, right? The workshops of the pyramid. So
Yep.
just describe one of those for me, if you don't mind, because there's two different sides to this healing. There's a physical side, and then there's the ascension side, right? Like, I mean, they do coincide, they do go together,
Yes.
right? Go ahead.
I I will speak to oh, well, that's not a pyramid. Okay. I was going to talk about Mount Shasta part 2, because that one
You can talk.
was,
So Mount Shasta was also a part of it. Mount Shasta is a portal,
yeah.
and it goes into the Fiji pyramid. So they are connected and they
Okay.
are purposeful. So go right
Yeah.
ahead and talk about that, because a lot of people don't understand Mount Shasta. They think to this day it's still filled with light.
Right. It is not. I will be the second person to come on here live and to tell you that it is furthest from the light that there ever was. It was
Mm.
filled with darkness, and being a part of that workshop, and I hadn't done part 1. So I remember you having to call my energy in through part 1 and not understanding what was taking place at all. And it was so powerful, and how that affects our physical vessel, but how, oh gosh, I don't even know how to put this into words, how it impacts so deeply who we are as a soul. Like, you don't even understand.
Yeah.
um and I am, it's truly hard to put this into words, because it's a feeling, um
To know it.
to be a part oh to be a part of that workshop, and to witness, to be a part of um, Samael burning, and that darkness going away. You know, like the real first big huge step of the mass being removed, and everything that was his lair, for lack of a better word, under tunnels and everything under Mount Shasta, and the darkness that was there, and all the souls that were trapped, and to feel what that felt like, to be a part of witnessing the release of those souls. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
You're doing great. You're speaking from the heart, and that's all I ask of you. I'm not guiding. God is, right? So yeah.
It was profound. And I remember that one very, it was hard for you to even want to release that one because it was so personal. Like there was work that was needed. You needed to have some help.
My DM was not there. That's right. So it was painful. And I remember God actually said I didn't have to do that one because I had done part 1, and without my DM being there, it was painful. And so people might watch that at first and see me crying and and kind of wailing in pain because they don't realize that I don't just talk about these things. I'm feeling them. I'm processing them. It's my light. It was my Kundalini light. It was my energy. It was taking everything that I had. My body swelled. My heart became enlarged at these time frames when I was activating the pyramids. And I didn't understand it either. And I'm sure Lisa can attest to that. I would go into these going, I don't know what's coming. I don't know what we're doing. I was just told to do it, and we're going to ride the wave. We're going to see what happens. And then I'm like using my energy. It was a battle. It was a battle of my soul. The pain, see, I talk about a DM, and because people don't see his physical vessel, they don't know the totality of what it was, because I feel it in my soul. I feel that ripping apart. I feel that pressure to divide. I felt his battle. It's also mine, right? And so it was painful. And so you have to widen your understanding of just being, right? You might understand what that means. So go ahead and continue.
I want to speak more to that actually, because this is a place where I have just recently got to in my journey. And so when you talk about feeling things and the physical pain, we say these words, but we don't have any understanding of really what that means until you have healed enough that your vibration rises and that you allow for those energies to be felt within your vessel.
And you can't do that with medications either.
No. And so this is something new for me, and that I've just truly, and it's not 100%, it's not all the time, it's not consistent for me yet. I am not on the same plane, but I'm getting there.
Oh yeah.
But I now can tell you with 100% certainty that I understand. I have a better understanding. I'll use that term. I have a far better understanding now when she says how she feels something, that if she feels pain, or she feels something in her solar plexus, or she feels something around her neck, or she, when she speaks of these things, that is truth. That is not, it's not just a word that she's throwing out there. It's not just something that she's saying. There is absolute pinch yourself pain, or, I mean, like, it is very, very real. And we just, our group unfortunately came through a recent attack where I actually felt the pain in my solar plexus. It hurt. It absolutely hurt to the point where I was crying in pain. So I expressed to you that until you have healed enough, you won't feel those things. So when she says, you might see something, you might feel something, if you haven't healed enough yet, you won't. But that doesn't mean to stop, because it's on your journey. You just need to get there. And that was part of what I myself had to continually remind myself of, is because she would say, feel it in your heart space. And I'm like, I don't feel
No, but I love that you brought this up, though, because this goes to what I tell you. You can only see to where the shadow lies.
Yes.
You just express that in the best way possible of what that even means. One can only see to where their shadow lies. Now, I will also attest to you, and we're going to get into this more, is that these healings are not just this lifetime. She specifically
Correct.
said it's a soul level healing. So, yeah, I might dive
Yes.
in one session and heal a gallbladder issue or a thyroid I didn't even know you had issues with, right? Or
Right.
all these
That I didn't
very
even know I had
mind.
issues with. Well, I
Yes.
mean, partly, yes, but correct.
Yeah, I like, and even with animals, she had mentioned the animal healings too, is I'll do the medical side, but then I'll speak through them. Like they will
Hmm.
literally show their personality. They will say things about her as their owner that I wouldn't have known. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, yeah, it's such a mind-blowing thing. And the one thing that blocks you is expectations and also where the shadow lies, because until you're fully awakened, that's why I tell you we should all be empaths. We should all be able to feel each other's emotions. That's why we have mental issues in the world. As a psychologist, I have a degree there too. But I don't use that here. This is a total different ball game. But
Yep.
in the world, we'd always talk about mental health issues, and that's because they have numbed us to our ability to feel. They've kept us outside of our body so diligently that when you work with me, it's hard to understand at first. And so I love that you reflected that. I truly do love that. That's what I'm saying. You would have never known where I was going with this because we didn't talk about this before. But so that goes into the healing is layered. And that you're going right along with what I wrote down. And I haven't even said it, like seriously. And so I'm like, oh my gosh.
I did ask God before we start. I said, please help guide my words, guide my thoughts, guide my words, what I say, what I need to say. And I think it must be doing a good job. So
This is why I don't, when I do healings and even messages, so I do messages for people, I do healings of all kinds. I'm an everything healer. There is no limit. A true master is real. I even have my Alchemy Academy, my Path to Righteousness, which Lisa has embarked upon all of it. And it has taken her almost 2 years to do it all. So it's very layered and very, very intense. Um,
intense.
Yes. Yeah, and it kicks your butt. It kicks your butt. It's not always easy to heal because it's true healing. But I feel like, and Amy too, she says in the comments is that she can attest to having witnessed the pain that I went through, and the healings that we have to
Yeah.
go through. And none of it is known ahead of time. And that's the thing about
Right.
it is we
Correct.
are so prone to seeing certain things. We're so prone to hearing certain things. And we don't even realize how far the shadow goes. And to think the shadow is not in the spiritual community, think again, my friends, think again. Okay. So,
Mm.
we are so attuned to seeing the shadow because that's what we're used to doing. And until you heal it all out of you, it's really hard to see who I am. Okay. It really is. Like it's really hard. So getting back to the layers and how it because like it's been a lot, you know what I mean? It's been a lot. It's a deep dive. Um, I want to talk. You brought us to your dad, and that was actually kind of what we're leading into next. We talked about animals and the layers of the animals and how it keeps
Mhm.
going. It's a gift that keeps on giving. Knowing what our animals can express and their true feelings and hearing them pretty much talk. I like go into the animal just as much as I go into the person. And I was even going to say is I don't want to know anything about you. When I do healings and when I do messages, and Lisa can attest to this, Amy can, anybody who's worked with me has and can. It's a little shocking. And I do it that way for a reason because the best way to validate you is to have validations there's no way I could have known. Absolutely no
Yep.
way I could have known. As a healer, I teach you to heal from that space, not by a book, not by anything that I'm guiding you through, just like this live. I didn't tell her what questions I was going to ask her. I didn't want to talk about any of it because I want it to be true. I want it to come from the heart space. And in the spiritual community, it's not always like that. Okay. And so I have people going, well, do you want to know what I want to know? I'm like, no, I don't. Please don't tell me anything. Right. I see a lot of people doing lives and go, what questions do you have? Or, they want to know what you want healed. I don't do that. So
Nope.
Lisa, maybe you can attest to that layer of how I truly don't want to, and I won't even let you send me videos.
Yeah.
Like can you give a little expression as to the totality of what that means?
Yes. So, and I'll speak to the sending videos thing first because I have sent her some stuff, over the last year and a half, and through email or whatever else, and wonder why doesn't she respond or whatever. And then finally, she replied back, and she's like, I don't watch anything that God doesn't send to me. And her explanation behind that was she doesn't want to be biased by anyone. No outside influence that wasn't guided directly from God. And that's pretty freaking cool, actually, and I'm like, well, it didn't, to me, I was like, well, it's not that big of a deal. But really, in it, when you think about it as just a generality, you don't know what little thing might be said in there that might sway her to believe one thing over another, and that might not be what God wants her to hear or to see. So I stopped sending stuff. And that's okay, but I'll tell you, whatever she shares with us, I certainly listen to, because anything that comes through her, regardless if it's something that she speaks, something that, through a healing, or through a message like that of somebody else's video or music or something, there's purpose behind it.
Deep purpose.
So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just listen. I mean, from day one, I'm just backtrack just a little bit here, because after that first healing, and I've talked about being in spirit school, because when I finally, it didn't take long, I don't know, 2 months or something, and I started the path of righteousness. But prior to that, like all I did all day long, because I remember I said I wasn't working, so I had plenty of time, but I used my time wisely. And I kid you not, a good 6 to 10 hours a day.
She was diligent.
6 to 10 hours a day watching all of your videos. I had seen everything you had put out from the beginning of January 2023 forward, if not stuff before that, whatever you had shared. But through Facebook, I had seen every live, every healing, every workshop, everything that you had posted on YouTube. By the time I started the path of righteousness, so in that 2 months, like 8 to 10 hours a day, that's all I did was learn, and what pretty much it was listen, like try to make sense of what was happening.
Yeah,
trying to play in essence, I was trying to play catch up, because I didn't understand, and I wanted to understand, so that way the next live that came, or the next workshop that came, like I would know more. I wouldn't feel so silly,
Yeah.
Or and there was a lot of self-judgment there. I'm gonna be
I was
honest.
gonna say that came back and bit you in the butt too, because
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Very much
you
so.
can't bring judgment and expectations into the house of God. Nope. You just can't.
No. But I needed to know who she was, what she was about, and I didn't judge any of that. Like I didn't understand it, and I was honest about that. I was forthcoming and truthful about that. That I would just say, and I'd ask questions. I was always asking questions. Like, can you explain a little bit more of this? Can you explain a little bit more of that, or whatever? Okay. Because I didn't know, and I wanted to know. So fast forward to Dad, because that's kind of where you were leading into. Are we good for me to go there now?
Just a really quick recap on what it means that I really don't want to know anything about you. Like, I don't accept questions.
Oh, right.
I don't accept. When I do a healing too, I don't let the person dictate that healing. And I want you to describe what that means to you, what you've experienced in the totality of your healings. And I know that can be a very long-winded space, right? Because it's been a lot. So just try to condense it into how I truly don't know anything, and how things just continually connect to one another, and the profound validations of true healing that it provides, and what that means. Does that make sense?
Goosey. He wants to speak. So I'm going to actually, maybe, I'm going to utilize him as an example, because he just got a healing last night.
He did, yes.
And nobody would know that except for you and I. My two big dogs got into an argument, and unfortunately Goose got injured. and he needed a healing, and he needed one pretty quickly. And so Bree graciously took time from her day off and helped Mr. Goose yesterday, and what came through with that for so in speaking to where this is going and why I'm talking about him, with him as well, I did not tell her what his injuries were, where his injuries were, anything about his injuries, none of it.
No.
Because I know she doesn't want to know, because the validations are so much more profound when God shows her what they, where to go and what to do and what to heal. Because not only is that validating for her, but it's validating for me as the owner. It's validating for me as myself, if it's me who's getting the healing. That if I had told her ahead of time, well, okay, so then you came up with this, or this could make sense. Sure. Like you could discount the healing.
Very good.
That is not the case with Brianna.
No.
She doesn't want to know. So only thing she knew about Goose was that she knew he was injured. She knew he wasn't doing well and wasn't moving very well and wasn't eating, and that he really needed some help. And one of the really cool things that came through in that healing, on top of the complete validation of all of his injuries, and even injuries that I wasn't aware of, was that he told her that he loves it when I kiss his head. And I always come up and I put he's a little gray pitty, and I put my hands on the sides of his face, on his cheeks, and I tip his head down and I kiss him right here. And he told her that was his favorite thing. And you don't know this, but I cried in that moment.
Aww,
It was
and I
so
wouldn't know
beautiful.
that. Yeah, and those are things I wouldn't know. And that's why I don't, and see, people might take it, I've had people try to do that. They try to message me in Messenger, and they'll book a session, they'll be like, what do you want to know? And I'll literally be like, nothing. Do not tell me anything. I'm not trying to be mean. I don't want to know what you need. If you have questions, tell Spirit. I
Yes.
literally say that to people. If you come to a reading, matter of fact, I just had one a few days ago with somebody like that. And this is somebody I've known in like my world, but not like on a very deep personal level, right? So an acquaintance, like my brother's ex upon ex many years ago. She reached out and she's like, I want some messages. And she's like, well, how does this work? Do you put a tarot spread? Like how I was like, sweetheart, I'm a pure channel. Like I do use cards, but they're usually the ones I've created and other sums, but like I do what spirit guides me to do. And she just, it was hard for her to understand that, because normally I've had it, it's like, what do you want to know in your reading? Like, what are your questions you have for spirit? And they give you questionnaires, and I'm like, don't do that. Please don't tell me
Mm-hmm.
anything or I will cancel this session. Like I really will, because that takes away from the true healing of your heart space.
Yes.
Just like she says, it's not validated. So I literally tell you, if there's things you want healed, if there's things you want to know, give it to God and then show up.
Now, I'd like to speak to that, because that came through for me personally just in the last, well, it's not even been a week. Monday. So tomorrow will be a week. It happened.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're going to lead to. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
That was mind blowing, by the way. But this happens many times. This is not the first time, but yeah.
No, but this was pretty profound. And then this will lead us into the family stuff,
Yeah.
because so 2 weeks ago tomorrow, I had 2 weeks ago tomorrow, I had a mammogram, and they found a mass in my breast, my left breast to be exact. And I
And
needed to have,
Amy can attest to this. She didn't speak of this in our personal group, nothing. Like nothing.
nope,
She'd never mentioned it. So go ahead.
yep, I didn't say anything at all. And and Tuesday I got so Monday I had the test. Tuesday morning I got the results. So they found a mass and needed more scans. So they quickly scheduled that for Thursday. And I knew that before I would leave Thursday, I would have all the information I needed to make a decision of whatever was necessary to go forward. So I go in Tuesday, I have to have another squeeze. And if they saw the same thing or whatever, then I had to have an ultrasound. And you wait for the results. Had to have the ultrasound. Something was still there. The doctor came in and spoke to me, explained what he thought that it was. He said it's most likely benign, only with a 2% chance of it being cancerous, and that they could do a biopsy to find out for sure. But it was very small. It was like 4 millimeters, so it's like you almost could get the whole thing in that biopsy. But he said, or or you could wait and have another ultrasound in 6 months to see if it's changing. But he says if it was my family, I would insist on wanting you to do the biopsy to find out now. And I said thank you, sir, but since you said that my option was to wait 6 months, I'm going to wait 6 months and I'm going to give it over to God. That's exactly what I said. And I said, I will see you in 6 months. And he's like, okay. So away I went, and then I had to wait. And that was the longest period between Thursday and Monday when I had my scheduled healing, and to stay out of fear.
Because
But
you do the healing packages, right? Like you
yes,
have, yeah. So she gets healings every 2 weeks with me.
yes. And I have to back up 1 second here, because I had told my mother
Oh
about
yeah.
the fact that I had they had found a mass and that I had to have more testing done. And my mother started to kind of panic and freak out a little bit and got really nervous. And she says to me, she says, Lisa, are you hoping, or I don't remember the exact words now, but basically, do you think that woman that you work with will help heal this? And I deflected that at the moment, and I just told her, because this was before Thursday, before the additional scans, and I had said, you know what, Mom, I said, right now I'm not giving any more energy to this, because I don't know what it is, and there's no point in worrying. And I left it alone.
Now let's recap on your mother. Your mother is not open to the work that I do. Let's just make that clear.
No.
She's actually quite judgmental about who I am because she has quite a religious component. And in
Yes.
religion, they teach you, even tarot cards are evil. And like, you know what I mean? It's based in judgment. And so she has not had a good time with her mother riding my wave. Let's just put it
Not at
that way.
all.
So let's make
Not
that
at all.
clear. So her mother's comment was not based in something good. It was based in mockery, basically.
Yes. Yes. Um, yes, that's exactly correct. So fast forward to Monday. Um, and I truly believed that I knew this. And part of my healing, part of what I am working through right now and on my healing journey, is releasing fear, releasing worry, releasing doubt, releasing judgments of self, self-criticism. All of these things would play into, like, I could make you panic about, 2% could make somebody freak out. And honestly, a year and a half ago, 2%, that biopsy would have happened that day if I could have got it scheduled. I'm gonna tell you. But we come to Monday. We came to Monday, and before the healing, and I'd been talking to God every day since the results, and I just said, I said, God, if this is something that needs attention now, that I know and I believe in my heart of hearts that you will show Brianna, and we will, you will remove it. You'll have her remove it or take care of it. Whatever needs to happen, she will, you will guide her. So we come to my healing, and in that healing, amongst other things, you ended up showing the reason behind what caused it before we got to what it was.
Now, keep in mind, I had no clue about any of this at all. And I do
None.
mean at all.
None. And then she gets up to my breast, and she's like, I feel like a mammogram, like my breast is being squeezed hard. And she even specifically went to my left breast, which it was my left breast. And
it wasn't the first thing I got to. Like she said, I
no,
was going through other things within her
My
system.
hormones weren't working properly, and a whole, and not just like, to say your estrogen's off. No, like she was so detailed about these different places, and it ended up being my adrenal glands were not functioning at all, like they were going dormant.
Remember
So
that?
she had
Yeah.
to open those back up and bring life back there and get them working, and she did all of that and then went into the breast and realized that that was causing this. So end of the healing, then I share with Brianna, to her surprise, or I should say surprise and amazement, but God works through her. So, um, nonetheless, I shared with her the story, of what had transpired, and then also with my mother. And and I then took that recording
Yeah, it's
of,
recorded. This is why everything I do is recorded. I
yep,
record everything and it's for them. I don't watch them again. But I was like, thank you for the validation because I needed
yep,
it too. I love hearing that. That is vulnerability as a healer. Let me tell you right now. And Amy can attest the way I teach you as a healer is to be that vulnerable, to be that trusting in yourself as a channel, right? And so these are these moments. So go ahead. She took that recording where I'm
I,
like, oh my God, are you serious?
I took that
Your breast
recording
did
to
get
my mother
squeezed.
the next day, and I said, Mom, because I wasn't supposed to come out and see her till Thursday. But I went this last Tuesday, and I said, Mom, there's something I really want to share with you. If you're open to hearing this, please. I would really love for you to hear this.
And this is the woman who mocked her about her
The woman who
denying the
said that I'm a part
doctor.
of a cult. It was
Yes, yeah.
not good.
Yeah, and she actually was probably upset with you. You denied the doctor intervening and was holding
Yes.
space to see what happened. And I had no idea.
Uh-huh.
And not only did I tell her breast was being squeezed, let's be clear, I went in and saw a clogged duct and I removed a
Yep.
mass
Yes. Yep. Yes.
and
Absolutely
had
true.
no idea it was there.
Yep.
Okay. Then
So I
you did
brought
the
it to
video.
Mom, and I played the portion of the healing from the beginning of everything that had to do with the adrenal glands, with the hormones, so she could get the understanding before we got to the breast itself. And then right after, at the end with the breast, that you said, oh, well, that was because of this. And so not only did you validate for us, right, for me and for you, but to my mother, that one, that you, Brianna, found the mass, but you also explained what caused it. You healed what caused it, and you healed the mass. And then I fast forwarded the healing to the end when we were having our conversation, when I then first told you about what took place and that you didn't know, and your confirmation that you didn't know any of this. And then my making mention that I said I need to share this with my mom. But here's the most, like the, yes, all of that is so wonderful, and I'm so grateful, like beyond measure. I can't even put into words how grateful I am to have had that experience.
But that's
But
not your first experience like that. So the
no, it's
true
not.
part of that is coming. Yeah.
but but the best part of this particular healing for me was the fact that my mother was open to hearing, that
That's
she
a seed we
listened.
planted a long time ago.
She listened, and then at the end we both cried, because I said to her, I said, Mom, I know that I said things in the beginning when I didn't know enough to speak. And I did, because I was so excited and I just wanted to share all of this with you. But I'm sorry that I spoke out of turn, because that hurt things. But I said, I need you. I wish for you to hear all the goodness that this woman, and that was her phrase, this woman. So I said that this woman has brought me back to God, has helped me to find my God, to find my way home, and to find my path. And I said, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt that if this needed to be healed, that yes, God would in fact bring Brianna to do so. So And I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I couldn't say, I didn't, it wasn't the time to talk to you about it on the phone. First of all, it was on the phone. You had company at that
Yeah.
moment. And you weren't in a place to hear me. But here now, and this is me talking to my mom, it was just her and I. Were having a private conversation. I provided her proof. And I said to her, I said, all that I ask of you, Mom, is to remember what you were teaching me growing up, and to remind your own self, find your way back to your heart. Because she used to talk about ESP. That's what she called, that was her intuition. I don't know what that stood for, but she always, as I was growing up, always referred to her ESP, which was her intuition. I said, Mom, please find your way back to your intuition, because that is your way home to God.
Yeah.
And I said, that is what Brianna has helped me find, is my intuition and my way to my heart space and into my growth and transformation. And I said, and we just started to cry. I mean, it was the most emotional. My mom. Now you also have to understand, my mom is very hard. She's very cold.
Yes. Very religious,
She's very religious,
which is why I tell you what I
not
do does not
emotional.
align with religion, but it is
She's
God.
yeah. She's not in tune with her emotions. Everything is buried, and in that moment, she cried.
Yeah.
And she asked me to come and give her a hug. And we cried together. And she said, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's huge. I just got so many chills. And if people knew the beginning of your journey, one of our very first, this brought me back to that moment because this is a full circle moment people don't see, is that in the beginning of your journey, when you were still coming off medications, you were still reliant on your mind and the external environment and what therapy had taught you, and you were still not quite here, right? You weren't here yet.
Mm-mm.
I would talk to you about you're going to have full circle moments with your mom and dad. You are going to
Mm-hmm.
go through a dark night of the soul with your mom and dad. And another thing I mentioned is judgments. Do not let judgments stop your journey. And many times over, those judgments hurt you, and they
Yep.
did come from your mom, especially. And a little bit with your dad. We've had some amazing things with your dad we're going to talk about. So this is actually a full circle moment people don't understand.
Yeah.
And at that time, you actually panicked when I told you that. You're like, what does that mean? And you went into fear. This is why you've been working. And so people don't understand the totality of how far you've come with that either. Because I remember when I said that, you're like, what does that mean? Is my mom going to die? Because your mom was actually dealing with her own medical issues at the time and stuff. And I said, no, God doesn't give you things out of fear. It's okay, right? But it means you are going to go through deep healing ties. Now, people don't realize the work that I do is lifetimes of energy. It's not just this time. The path to righteousness has everything to do with your entire self, your entire soul, and returning back to God. And these are the
Yes.
layers that she is talking about. And so to understand the totality of what she's saying, you have to have the totality of what she's gone through. And it came through in the very beginning that she had a lot of healing to do with her mom and dad. And it
Oh
wasn't going to
man.
always be easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't have a great childhood. I didn't have the perfect parents by any means, at all. And each of my parents are unique in their own,
We all have
with their
that, don't
own
we? Oh my God.
wounds and traumas. And my mom and my relationship has never been great since the time that I was probably 11 or 12 years of age and older. What
Yeah.
I could start to think more for myself, and I didn't like who I was looking at.
Yeah, and I feel
You
like
know.
we all have that. I feel like that's part of the ascension. See, the reason why I call it the return of Christ is because that's what we're in, you guys. We are in a space of profound and prophetic change. Okay. And these are changes that we cannot fathom. And so, if at any time on her journey she let the expectations or fear or judgments stop her, we wouldn't be here today. She wouldn't have gotten this far or even healed these layers with her family and gotten this close to her mother and father. Like you guys don't understand the mountains that she has climbed, but People are so used to lies. They're so used to a false understanding of the world around them through religious, through judgment, through ego, through fear, and through medications, let alone a medical field that does not know everything. And that's been proven on this journey as well. To a psychological field, which I have a background in both, more psychological. I have a degree there, and how it actually doesn't align with true healing. And Lisa is a very good candidate to show all of these things. But in
Mhm.
order to return home, you have to heal the totality of who you are. And I feel like at this point, almost 2 years later, Lisa can actually attest to what that means more and more and more. And how I've had people on my journey when I say, oh, your heart is like, I need to go in, I need to hold your heart in my hand, like it's failing. I have literally healed people on their deathbed. And I don't talk about that as much as I do as the return of Christ stuff, because that's why God brought me here. I allow those to come to me that want the healings. Those are the ones that have to push past the resistance. I'm sure Lisa can attest to that resistance as well.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody who works with me, you are going to find resistance. When you go into the return of Christ work, you are going to find resistance from judgment to ego to fear to money. Like it doesn't matter. And money is not what mattered to me most, because if anybody works with me and they came to me and they're like, I can't afford this, what can you do? Right? Like I don't care. And when you actually push past that resistance, I love to give free things. So I do my part and you do yours, right? An equal exchange type of a thing. So there are multiple layers to this, but I feel like people don't understand the totality of what it means to fully heal back to God, because we're so
Right.
stuck in a false environment with the shadow, even in the spiritual community. So not only has she had profound experiences with her mother, she also has with her father, to one that recently blew both of our minds. I told you I'm a pure channel. I don't want to know anything. I don't ask questions. And this is validating for both sides, not just
Hmm.
yours. So let's talk about your dad.
All right. So I mentioned, okay, so June. I, now, I precursor. So I grew up in a very abusive household. My father was very abusive to my mother. Okay. And my relationship with my father has always been very strained. It's always been at a distance, at an arm's length. But I've always been there whenever he needed me. I'm an only child, and I always had that I guess that sense of responsibility, that feeling of responsibility, that I, good, bad, or ugly, like, you know, push comes to shove, he needs me, I'm going to be there. With that,
See, when I told you she had profound healing with both sides of her parents a year and a half ago, she didn't know the totality of what that meant, but I think she does now. Her dad, by the way, like I feel like I'm family now. He has healing packages. He's on his second package with me.
God, God put it on my heart that I needed to find a deeper a deeper level of forgiveness, because I have forgiven my father for a lot of things, and in fact that pissed my mother off. She gets so mad sometimes. How come you can forgive your dad for all the things he did, but you can't be nice to me? The irony. Ah. But at some point, like, I just started to feel that maybe maybe dad maybe dad could use some healings. Now my father has Alzheimer's, okay? My father is in a memory care clinic.
And I don't think I knew
And
that he had Alzheimer's either.
no,
I
not in the
don't think I
beginning.
did. And really quick, I want to just, as you go into this, I talk a lot on the return of Christ of how when you do healing, you open your family up to that healing. You
Yes.
give your family space to rise, because before you started working with me, none of that was possible. I mean, I'm not just making that up.
Mm-mm.
You would let me know that. There was no closeness. There was no ability to get to this space at that time. And so some people on the journey have thought because they're healing, so their family automatically gets to rise. I think Lisa can
No.
attest that it takes free will. But by her healing, you're going to hear this because it's blown me away. She has opened up the path for them to be more accepting, and they have to step in. So, right back to where you were talking about, you said you thought your dad could use some healings.
Yep. And so I reached out to you in email, and some judgments came through, and I didn't recognize those judgments either. I can see it now. Um
That's right, because
there's
I
some
stopped you. I was like,
expectations.
well,
Yeah. Also some expectations that anyway, there was a lot of shackles that bound me
so what she's
that needed to
referring
be
to
cleared.
is she emailed me and said, like, it was something about, I don't think he'll be accepting or something like that, right?
I
It was
didn't know if
something.
he could because of his memory, and that's what I but the way that I said it was judgment, not that the way that I can say it now, with love and understanding, that I didn't give in that moment. I wasn't giving him that opportunity. I was pretty much sure that he wouldn't understand. So that could I make that choice for him or something? As I think is kind of what I was asking. And no, you would be surprised because even in a moment of lucidity, basically Brianna, she asked me, she says, do this, Lisa. Talk to his guides. Ask his guides to help him to be open, to open his heart to the idea of having some healing. And I'm like, okay. So I did that. And the next time that I saw him, um, we're driving down the road, and just out of the blue I decided to drop this into the conversation. I'm like, Dad, hey, I came across this beautiful woman who has helped me immensely. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember saying how there might be an opportunity for some healing with your mind, or who knows, whatever else. That she and I did very clearly express and explain that she acts from God, that she brings through angels, and I also told him, I said, she's not a doctor. She doesn't claim to be a doctor. She doesn't work like a doctor does. And I said, would this be something you might be interested in doing? And first off, he says, well, do I have the money to? It's going to cost something. Do I have the money? And I said, Dad, don't worry about that. I've got that covered. And he said yes, but because of his mental state, I asked him. I said, could you please repeat to me your understanding of what I asked you? Because I wanted to make sure that free will was applied. And he repeated back to me what he understood, and it was correct what he understood. And so I bought him a package, and we started the healing process. And he got his 13th healing last Tuesday. That was the first of his second package. And I remember saying to Brianna, I said, hey, you know what? This is his 13th healing. I said to Dad, I said, you know how profound that is? That's cool. And the number 13 is such a wonderful number. People, the darkness made that, superstitious to turn people away from it, because it was the number of God.
Yep.
And I said, this is going to be a beautiful healing, not having any remote idea of how profound that healing actually was.
We had no clue what was coming. I didn't ever experience this before yet either. So this was a whole nother level of my experience too. I'm just
Yes.
a champ. Go ahead.
So, the healing starts like normal, and just it seems like just, and I don't say that sounds
Well,
bad,
let me
like
stop
just
you really
another healing,
quick.
because it's not like that. But
The first healing we did on your dad was like 15 minutes long.
Oh, right.
I
Yes.
could not go that long. I saw he had Alzheimer's. I'm like, this is Alzheimer's. This is not dementia. This, and I kept saying that, and his body got tired. I'm like, okay, we're done for today. And so up to the 13th healing, he goes for the full 45 minutes now. And we have
Yep.
had crying together. We have laughed together. He's like, I don't understand this, but I know it's God. And we have literally watched him choose to show up. I've healed things that his home couldn't figure out. He had
Hmm.
like and so it's been cancer healings, it's been some kind of, all different kinds of things. And I'm seeing things in his environment and why people judge him. They think he's angry, but he can't express. And it's just so it's been quite profound up until this 13th day. So it took us like we've been on a journey already, okay?
Yeah.
For true, for the real. So go ahead.
And things have come through in the first dozen healings that impacted me. Like he healed things that impacted me, impacted my half sisters. My father was married before my mom, and I have two sisters. And so some of the karma he was clearing, some of the things that he was having
You hit
some
it.
realizations on, and things that were coming through impact all of us, impact the ties that he has to, to me, to my sisters, to my mother, to his ex-wife, to my grandmother, who's come through a couple of times in the healings now,
Yes.
and made her presence, known.
Yeah, who's on the other
Um,
side. So as a medium, I do that
mhm.
too. And she's hitting on perfectly because everything I do is to heal you back to the totality of God. And so I talk a lot about healing karma. And I've had a lot of people say, well, karma's not real. And it's just we get to ascend no matter what. And I keep telling you, no, you have to heal your karma back to God. And Lisa's
Mhm.
witnessed this on multiple levels, but the proof and the validation just keeps deepening and deepening.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And boy, did it ever, because on the 13th healing this last Tuesday, so the healing starts out like any other normal healing has done with him, and but then all of a sudden, and Dad and I are having a conversation. He was asking some questions during it, so this was the first time that I hadn't been completely connected through the whole healing in the beginning
Because she's there with
until,
him. She brings him, they sit in the
yeah,
car, and then the camera goes on him, and then I focus on him. But she's there with him. So she's
yes,
witnessing
yeah,
it with him.
yes, yes. That's a good point. People wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
So gotta have that visual here. So
Context is everything, yes.
context, yes, that's the word I was looking for. But I heard you start, you said something, like you were in his hips,
Yeah, so I remember I laid him flat in my mind's eye. So I do everything in the spiritual. I come out of my own body as a soul. It's weird, but it's true. It's very profound. And so I literally, and I'll say things and do things, and you might go, what? But then you'll feel it, you'll witness it, and then your body will actually process it too. So it's really hard to deny what I do once you work with me. And so she's learned to just, we roll with it, right? We ride the wave. And so do I. I'm like, okay, so this time, and every time's different. And I'm like, I need to lay him out on a board. So it's almost like if I think I might have even said this, like a stretch, like a gurney or a stretch, is like when you lay somebody out on a board. And so that's where she's at.
Yeah. So she was in his hips, and then I heard, then you talked about a car accident, and so then Dad and I were talking about, well, and because you'd said this was many years old, and I was like, okay, well, maybe she is talking about the big car accident when he's in his 20s, and he spent 9 months in the hospital, 3 months of that in a coma. So we thought, okay, that could be this, because you had said that, if he was unconscious, he couldn't feel this pain. So we were talking about that. That was
Oh,
what
and
was happening
see,
in the
that goes to
background.
expectations, right?
Yes.
When you hear me
Well,
say
and
you were
speculation.
unconscious,
So
yeah,
yeah.
you might think that, but in truth, that wasn't it at all. It was a totally different time frame.
Yep.
And then you can
Yep.
explain what that means now is because when I said unconscious, I didn't mean he was truly passed out. It was that his memory
Right.
wasn't working,
Yes.
but we didn't know that yet.
Nope. But it quickly came to light, and I quickly understood, because you found a death. You found death attached to his tailbone to his pelvis area in his hips area and all of that. And
So,
then I went,
well, let me give a little more details to how this goes down because what it was is I was in his energy and I had him laid flat. And now I'm not with him. I'm on camera. I do everything I do through Zoom. I wish more people lived by me because when I get to touch you, it becomes more somatic too. It's really cool. But most of what I do is on Zoom. I can do it remote. It doesn't matter. And I didn't know anything about what I was about to do. I didn't know. I don't know. I don't want to know for this reason right here. She has multiple of these. So I had laid him down energetically, and I'm like, okay, so I just go with what I see and I do what I do and I send the light through, right?
yep,
Yes. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, I'm in his hips and I'm like, oh, oh, I was like, the pain, you guys,
oh yeah,
I can take on pain. I will feel it in my vessel. And I'm like, this hurts. This hurts bad. This hurts bad. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I need to turn his hip. I need to turn his hip. I need to. And I kept like doing this and I kept like thinking, well, maybe he hurt his hip, because I don't try to think about it, but that's what I'm just kind of attributing to what I was doing. And I remember the pain got so intense. I was like, and so I was taking my time. I would like have to stop and be like, like I was
mm-hmm.
processing that pain. And go ahead.
You
So I just
said it
had
was
to give
like
that detail.
9.5 out of 10. It was that bad.
Yeah. It was excruciatingly painful. And so I thought it was just injury because that's where I was at. But that wasn't it. So go ahead.
No, it you did find a soul that had, I don't know if the right word is trapped, but was dad was
Just
harboring a lot of self guilt and a lot of sorrow and grief for what had happened, that he had felt that, he asked God, why didn't you take me? I don't understand. I don't, I'm deserving of all of this pain. Like he felt it was, he didn't live a good life before that. And so he felt this was punishment, that what had happened. Now to explain what had happened, right? But you had found a soul. And as you released that soul, you saw this white butterfly fly out of his pelvis. Um, and you saw a soul come and kiss him on the forehead and say, I love you, and flutter off. And I'm now just in absolute tears. I'm sobbing. You don't know this. You're still,
no.
because we're on mute. So she can't hear us. She can
Or
still
see
see us,
her. I can see her
but
dad only.
her eyes are closed, so she doesn't see
Yeah. Yeah.
anything
I don't even
anyway.
look. My eyes are closed.
But I'm a sobbing, blubbering mess because now I know. Now I know what this was. It was a car accident that my father had been in July 3rd, 2007. And on that day, he had his memory, his memory was at such a point that I had been working for the previous year to remove his driving privileges. And his mother and his uncle in January, just after just before then, but because he had to renew his license, and his birthday's in January. So just before that, they had told me very clearly that I needed to back off and that I needed to
Because she was trying to
let
get
the
him to stop
state,
driving.
yeah,
Yeah.
let the state take his license. And I said, in order for the state to take his license, something severe is going to have to happen, and I'm not okay with that. But I had no more power. In fact, I did have no more power. My uncle took my power of attorney, took my dad in, rewrote a new power of attorney, made him power of attorney, changed everything. That was January. Fast forward to July, and that car accident happened. My father pulled out in front of a semi truck on a highway that was 65 miles per hour. And that semi truck hit the passenger side as a T-boned the passenger side of my father's vehicle. And his girlfriend was in the passenger side.
And did not make it.
She was life flighted to the hospital. 8 days of being in ICU. She finally passed away. And unbeknownst to Brianna, on top of all of this, the impact that this had on me was hugely profound because I was harboring a lot of guilt here too, because I felt like there should have been something more I could have done. This should have been preventable. And it was so painful. It was so painful.
Yeah. It was mind-blowing to all of us because I remember when I was doing his healing, I went in like every other day, just like you said, and this was on his 13th healing. Okay, now I keep telling you guys who I am and that I help you rise to God. I'm here to help you clear karma. I have cleared karma back to the beginning of time for the earth. I have fully united, and this is a part of that. This speaks very volumes for what I'm talking about because until you're there, you don't know. Until you're there, you don't know. Until you witness it, you don't know. We can't see the totality of the wounds and the karma we have to clear. And so, as I was in
Yeah.
her dad's energy, as I went into his hip, I started. So, because it's hard to do it justice unless you're there. So, I
Yeah.
started processing his emotions. I started speaking, oh, the chills, speaking very loudly about his emotions and about how I deserve to suffer. I deserve to feel this pain. I should have been the one to die, like this anger. But here's the thing is when I said he was unconscious, he didn't remember it. Like when
No.
he had this accident, he couldn't think straight then. Okay. And so people don't know how he truly felt. And he couldn't
Right.
express that, how much your soul knows more than your physical body does. And so all of us were mind blown from this healing because number one, I've never felt that kind of pain before. And I have done healings on broken bones. I've done healings on like you name it. I've done it so far. Parkinson's disease. I see what causes that. I've had to heal somebody's heart machine. I did that. That took 3 sessions. Like it's been mind blowing stuff. But this is one of the more profound healings that even I had to like process. And I'm getting a lot of chills because when I speak of karma, people don't understand that in a limited mind space. And this is a very good example of that. Now, her dad chose to keep coming. Her dad
Mhm.
met the challenges. Her dad had free will in this and he kept rising. He kept choosing. So he didn't do the path necessarily. He just got the packages. He gets physical healings mostly, but this went into karma clearing on the
Mhm.
13th healing, and we didn't see it coming. And so I was in his hips, and I remember the pain, but then it went to like deep, deep emotional releasing. Like I'm talking
Yeah.
like deep. And then I saw the soul come out of his hip. It was this beautiful soul, but I try not to deflect anything that I'm seeing. Like I try not to give too many insights either because I'm not trying to convince them what I'm seeing. And so I'm like processing what I'm seeing, but in the pain. I remember the pain in my hip was excruciating, you guys, and I do mean excruciating.
You
I thought
cried.
maybe
It
he
was,
fell.
you ended up crying. It was that bad. It
I
was
was
that
crying.
painful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, and I saw the accident and I saw carnage and I saw blood and I said, and I didn't want to express all of that, but that's what kept coming out, like this bleeding and this processing and this soul. And I was trying to understand what I was getting because I didn't know. I didn't know any of this about him. I knew he had one accident that I've healed him from, but this seemed different. This was different. This wasn't the same accident that I've healed him already through. And
Yeah.
so I feel like it's true profound justice here. This soul came out. And then when we cleared it, she became the butterfly and
Hmm.
she kissed him on his forehead and she flew up. And at that point, Lisa lost it. Her dad was trying to understand and process, and it was
And
just
he
like,
didn't remember any of this. At the healing, the day of the healing last Tuesday, you asked, he said, does he know what's happening? Did he remember this accident? He didn't remember it all.
yeah.
But he was emotionally attached to it. Like he could tell
Yes,
between
your
the way
soul
that you
knows.
and I both were crying, and like I'm not little crying, like I'm
No.
sobbing hysterical. I can't believe this just took place, like out
Yeah,
of
because I didn't
body
know.
almost. It
I
was,
didn't
and you
know.
just kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, there is nothing. I'm grateful. Don't be sorry, because you didn't understand yet what.
No, I had to
And
process it too, just like everybody else.
and and something I really, so this is really important for people to know about dementia and about Alzheimer's and our soul. Okay.
That's what I'm
This is
saying is
real.
your mind may not know.
yes, his mind did not remember, but his soul did. And his soul, like he was trying to console me. And my dad has not done that. I have cried many times through these healings with him, and he didn't understand and he didn't try to console me. This time he did. He tried to console me. He was starting to ask questions. Like he wanted to understand, you know, what
what I was saying and what I was,
yeah,
because it's deep.
right.
Like I'm like,
Yeah.
ow, 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 ow. And then I'm processing all this. It goes fast. It goes fast.
But his soul truly knew. His soul knew. And so it was like this, also this another huge validation of not having expectations, because
Yeah,
he
this was his
says
13th
he
healing.
he said this on many of the healings. He you've heard him say that. He says God is the boss.
Yes, yes,
God is the
that's
boss.
his theme. Yes. And I'm like,
God
yes,
is the
he
boss.
is.
And he says, and he said, I think this was the last healing, not this one that we're talking about, the one just before. And he had said, he says, you know, I don't have anybody to talk to, so I talk to God. That happens to your heart space.
Yes.
Dad was talking to God through his heart space. And now dad has cleared, this was some karma he cleared, big karma he cleared,
Yeah.
but
And I said
he
that too.
cleared
I was like,
karma a
big karma.
couple healings ago too. He's starting to clear some karma.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if your mind isn't here, because our mind is filled with ego and it wants to block us anyway. So it's almost a blessing that the Alzheimer's, you know, that, because it's allowing him to have made his soul to make that choice
Yeah.
on his best behalf, right? To allow these healings to keep
Now,
showing up, to
let me
keep
tell
doing
you, her dad
the
is set in
work.
his ways. If he don't want something, he's not gonna do it.
Yeah,
Because
like he
I'm
doesn't
like,
want to
my
drink
dude,
water.
you need some water. And he's like, I don't like water. I don't care. Like,
I don't agree with what that I need water. He kept saying, I don't agree with that.
yeah, yeah. So we know he keeps choosing to be there. He does
Yeah.
because he would stop real quick. He lets you know.
Yep. And there's been many times, and you don't know this even, because when I go pick him up, you know, beforehand, and I always take him to the lake. So that's where, for the most part, if when we come for the healing, we sit along Fernan Lake. And so he has something really beautiful to experience, get away from the house and all of that. But there's many times I go pick him up and he's just not in a, you know, he's in a grumpy mood. He's not sure how this is gonna go, you know. And even sometimes whether he wants to do it. There's, you know, I was like, there was one time in particular I thought, man, I'm gonna have to cancel because he doesn't want to do it. But no, as soon as, you know, like I could, you know, I get him to the lake, I set the camera, and I'm like, remember this, we're going to talk to Brianna. She's in the camera. She's here on the phone. Oh yeah, that lady that helps me.
Oh my gosh, that so warmed me right there. I could cry. Because when I see
So
him, he's like lights up and he's like, it's God. God's the boss. That's what he says. And so I'm like, are you ready? He's like, God's the boss. So I'm
yeah.
ready. Oh, so beautiful.
So in putting this all together, like Brianna said in the very beginning, the healing is so layered, and it's not, and it's not just we heal, it's not just healing for us. So we are all connected. We really are. We have ties to our family, to our friends, to our animals, to our community, um, to situations that some we don't need to have ties to any longer. Things we need to release, like this. This was a situation that I needed to cut ties to. And it has been I'll tell you, it has been a very emotional week for me, recognizing that there was some really deep guilt, some really deep sorrow and grief that I had attached to his karma. It wasn't mine. I didn't drive. I wasn't behind the wheel. I didn't make that mistake. That wasn't
You
me.
watched her die.
But I did watch her. I sat with her in the ICU for the first couple of days while her daughter was trying to get here because her daughter lived out of town. And I hadn't met this woman. It was a my dad used to call them lady friends.
One
Not
of his
girlfriends.
lady friends.
This is one of his lady friends. He had different lady friends to do different things with, like this lady liked to go fishing and he loved to go fishing. So that's what they did together. And I guess for a couple of years, and I had heard her name, but I had never met her. Wasn't how I wanted to meet her.
And I did not know this. I wasn't in Lisa's energy. I was in her dad's, and I was doing his 13th layer of healing. So it took him all these layers to get to this one.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell you the return of Christ takes a lot of healing. And you don't know until you know, you know? And your mind is going to convince you otherwise. There's
Yeah.
so much resistance to the work that I do. Lisa, how many times have you had resistance to showing up to my workshops or the work that I do or the healings?
Oh, plenty. And I've made my own, you know, I know I don't like the word mistakes, but I've been
Yeah,
in
they're
judgment
mistakes.
and I have had to own that. And I've had to find it within that strength within myself to go, you know what? Mm-mm,
That's not love.
that's not love. Recognize that's not love. And most of the time it was about me and not giving love to myself.
Yes.
So the moment that I, release self-doubt, self-criticism, not feeling worthy or not being enough, and I call my power back and I stand strong in my strength and my knowing and my truth.
Which you learned how in the path to righteousness. Those are the
Yeah.
tools I give you. Yeah.
And start to feel this now, not just know it, but
But
now
feel
I,
it.
I have a whole nother layer of this, of feeling the energy of it, of, and again, coming back to the very beginning of this conversation, that's not all the time yet. That's not 100%. I,
Yeah.
I'm not near mastery on this,
Well,
but I'll
let's
tell you this, I'm gonna keep going to get there.
yeah. Oh my God, you have gone so far. So that's what I want to discuss. All of a sudden it came into my head that we need to talk about this. It's not in my, it's nothing. I just seen this in my eyes just now. And so what I need to talk about is when I met you, you said in the very beginning that you were on all these medications that I healed you off, which was not my intention. I just do the healings. You started healing and then realized you didn't need them. And truly you don't because you're not on them now. But here's the thing
Nope.
about that is you were going to therapy for how many years?
25.
Now, I
Like
have
the
a
whole time I
psychology
was on
degree.
medications.
I have a psychology degree. Most people don't know that. I was in the behavioral field. So I worked a lot with severe behavioral, cognitive development issues, and things like that. So I understand that side of things, but I wasn't trying to heal her from that side of things. And so her and I did butt heads a little bit at first, did we not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And where did we butt heads the most? Can you pinpoint that exact space?
Mm-hmm.
I can. I can put it into a very simple sentence if you can't.
I want to say it was giving up control.
Yes, and of one particular space. So in therapy, they have you process from the head. You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to
I had to
analyze. You
get out of
have
my
to,
mind and get into my heart.
exactly. And so she was constantly trying to analyze what I was
Yeah,
doing.
yeah,
She was
yeah.
constantly trying to understand it in her head. And I kept telling her, stop doing that. Let
And I couldn't
go.
even meditate. I've been trying for 18
Oh,
months
yeah.
to
She argued
meditate,
with me
and
on
that
that. She's
just
like,
came on this week,
yeah,
really,
she's
fully.
like, I can't do it, Bree. Like, I can't. And I'm like, okay, then. Bye.
You would get mad at me.
Goodbye. You can't do it. Okay, goodbye. And I would tell her that's a lie, but okay, I can't convince you otherwise. And I would tell her, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And what did I tell you? It's never an instant switch with that. Because why? You have to get your power back from the mind. Now,
Yeah,
this goes into the medical field because how many times, Lisa, have I contradicted the doctors and yet now all of a sudden your body's healed?
yeah, no, almost every single time.
Yeah, okay. And I don't claim to be a doctor. I won't tell her what to do with medications. I don't tell you none of that because I am not a doctor. I get that. I am not going to go out of my scope of practice. I'm a master healer. There's a difference, okay? And now in
Yep.
psychology, let's go into that side of it. How many times do I differentiate from them, but actually truly provide you space where you came out of that anxiety? You no longer have those
Hmm.
anxiety attacks you had when you met me.
Right. And for 25 years, that's all I asked for was coping skills to understand how I could, get my mental health under control. And nobody could ever help. Nobody was able to help me with that until the last counselor that I went to because it was more about me doing the work, and it was focused on me seeing different things, and nobody else had that perspective until I got to you. And then it was like, it just built on that. It was like that foundation that God helped put there. So then I
Mhm.
could, that stepping stone I needed to be able to get, and to be able to just stop and go, okay, I don't understand this, but we're just going to keep going. And then like every time you get mad at me because I was
I
digging
wouldn't get
my
mad at
heels
you.
in.
I wouldn't get
I
mad at
Well,
you.
I
I just
know.
wouldn't play into what you were doing.
Yes, yes. Well, every time you were doing exactly what I needed you to do,
Yeah.
and I was digging my heels in deeper, allowing resistance to block me, and it would take me a moment, like. And sometimes, and there was one point, like it took me a good couple of weeks to kind of get myself realigned to understand and to find that perspective, because I kept asking God, I'm like, I
I
know,
remember
I
that.
know I'm supposed to follow her. I know this. So I know if you're having her share this information with me and she's adamant that I'm wrong, and it's not about right or wrong, but
Yeah.
I mean, she's adamant, she's
That this
adamant that
is
I
the
need to
way.
hear, yeah,
Yeah.
that this is the path. This is do this. Okay, then God, please help me to see clearly, because something's blocking my perspective on this. And
I
I
love that
want to
word.
see that perspective. Please help me find the perspective shift. And and then and so then I would find that perspective shift. And I want to say this, I'm going to say this again, because I think this is this was one of the biggest turning points for me on my journey. And that was because after that big perspective shift that I needed, and I found
She
I
found it on
needed
her
to
own. Yeah.
apologize.
Oh, yeah.
I needed to apologize. I needed to own what I did from a place of authenticity, genuineness, and truth.
Yeah, because
And
I
I
held
did
space
that.
for her. She wasn't being very nice to me, but I held space for her because I get it. It
I
wasn't
was
her.
I was confused. I had built a nice veil of illusion and
Yeah.
confusion around myself that I allowed to be there.
Yeah.
and and the moment that I made that perspective shift, I allowed for that perspective to shift. And it was, I think, well, it was Facebook, or here, I think it was Facebook actually, but anyway. And I owned it.
She
I
did.
owned
I
what
didn't
I
see it
did.
coming, but she did.
I owned what I did. I apologized. I flat out said I knew this and this was wrong, and I am sorry, and please forgive me. And in that moment, that was when the biggest shift came.
But
And
that's the
I think it
thing.
was a day or two later that
Yeah.
I
See, that
actually had
didn't
something
change
pretty
me.
profound happen. So,
Yeah, that didn't change me. That changed her.
mm-hmm,
That lifted this weird veil. And like she said, it continued. Then something profound came after that. And all of a sudden she could
mm-hmm,
see and she was like on this journey of awakening. Girl, and she has had some experiences like she can't even quite put a finger on. Like just
yeah.
things were happening to her and through her. And she would email me and go, "Oh my God, you have no idea." And I'm like, yes, yes. So we could
Yes,
have had those moments
Brianna
of
was like the only person that I could share some of this stuff with, that I wouldn't get judgment from, because
no.
people wouldn't understand it. It's not even judgment. I mean, yes, they would judge it, but it wasn't because of that. It was like they just truly couldn't understand. But Brianna could. So
Mhm.
I emailed her these profound, you know, moments, these visions, these I don't even, what do we
The
call these?
emotional releases, like it
Yeah,
was
like,
layered. There was
whew,
so many things. Like awakening, they were awakening moments where you come to these shift in perspective. Now you said that yourself. That's the
mm-hmm.
biggest profound thing you could have said too, because we think we know. We think we know. We're in our head. We're used to
Ego gets
certain
in
things.
the
We
way.
think we know. And then we might get frustrated. We might go into judgment. We might have expectations, and all of that blocks you and blinds you. This is what I talk about. The shackle blinds you,
Yes.
The shadow blinds you and the shackles bind you. And that's how it happens. And you can't do things outside of God. It has to be unconditional love and just being open, right?
Yep.
And so you're speaking very loudly of that because that's what we gave space for. She could have shut down and said, like, this bitch ain't getting me. You know what I mean? Like, she's not hearing me, and I'm just like
Yeah.
holding space going, it's all right, girl. It says I'm just here. I never had to forgive you. I wasn't angry. But when you did that, you opened up and it was just like, whoom, because you came to it in your heart. And this goes to the forgiveness video that I just did too.
Hmm.
I didn't have to go there because I was already just like, I know it's her shadow, you know?
Yeah.
And so you're speaking loudly of this. You never gave up. Your dad never gave up. And your mom still hasn't fully given up. And now she's seeing because of the work you're doing. So it's quite layered and quite profound. And you have cleared so much karma. Now, really quick, when you finish the path to righteousness, let's be real here, okay? Because not a lot of people talk about this. Amy went through it, and we had a couple others that went through it. They've been battling some shadow, right? But when you got through the gates, so what happens? What happens is I clear all of your karma has to be cleared. And you experienced this firsthand. So I
Hmm.
want you to talk about it because it's important because people don't understand this. And if you're hearing me, this is important. This is very important to the return of Christ. I talk about this. The pyramids I activated are gates. I think you can understand that now
Yep.
where you could not understand that at first, okay? And
Correct.
the 13th gate is just after the Nile, and that gets you into heaven on earth, okay? It's true. And when you go through the path, you go on this healing journey. You have to clear it all. You have to choose love. And if you don't, it's like this until you get the lesson, right? And then you keep rising. Once you get there, I do a healing on you. And we don't know what's coming. And all of a sudden, your karmic contract comes up and it starts to go into ashes, layer by
Hmm.
layer by layer by layer. And when it's cleared, you get a blank contract and a key. And you go, and then you get cleaned. You get like a violet flame and a blue flame and a white flame healing or something, right? And
Yep.
I clear all your energy and you go into the gates. Now explain what happened to you. Because I think it matters because you've experienced, I can't make this up if I tried.
No. So this is twofold. There's two parts to my entering the new earth, going through the gates. Um, so December of 23. Yeah, we're 24 now. So December of 23 is when I finished the path. I had gone through everything, and I
On
had a
speed dial,
healing.
mind you, like on crack. Like it was like
Oh
boom,
yeah,
boom, 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 healings on her. Yeah.
on top of the Alchemy Academy too. Like I
Oh,
was on
yeah.
overload, man. But
It was a lot.
I say I talk about being in spirit school because I was spending 6 to 10 hours a day. That was my job. That was 100%
And
my
I
job.
didn't tell her to do that. She chose to do that. Just to
I
be clear.
chose to do that, and it was
Mhm.
the best choice I could have ever have made. And I would choose it again and again and again and again and again. But we get to that healing, and I realized, wow, okay, oh my God, we're here. Like, we're to the gate, and I still didn't even know, like,
Yeah, we didn't know it was coming.
wow. And my karma wasn't clear. I had a piece left, and God allowed me in the gate. It's kind of like in this is how I see it. I'm kind of like in this little protective bubble area, like by myself yet, because I still had work to do. But He was acknowledging everything that I had done, and He allowed me in, and I was there. But
He
it's
like
kind of like,
ripped a page off of
yeah,
your Akashic
and my
records. He
Akashic
ripped a
records,
page and said, as a gift, keep going. I remember
yes.
that. We were both like,
What does and what and it and I was like, what does this mean? I don't understand. And then for months, I mean, for months I was by myself. I was hermited in. I was like, okay, I gotta focus on me. I gotta figure this out. I've gotta get these perspectives.
little
I've
fear,
gotta,
which she cleared.
I
Fear
did,
came
yeah.
up
I was
and
like,
she had to
wait,
clear that.
but
And I was
but
like, no,
it
no
all,
fear. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
yes. And it was. And I truly didn't understand. I probably still don't fully understand it all, but I say I understand far more now, um, than I did then. And then in August, not the 8 days, but the next,
Oh, so August, she's talking about the 8 days of birthing New Earth.
yeah. So it
And then
wasn't
I
those. It
did,
wasn't through the Lion's Gate. It was the next set of
it was the
the next
13
workshop.
steps to heaven. It was the
Yeah,
13 stairs to heaven. And through those, I heal you through every portal to the final one. Yep.
yeah. And day 10 was the 13th gate.
Well, hold on a second, because before then, when you first went into the path and you had that karma still with you, right? We both didn't. I can't make these things up if I try, you guys. So I'm just there. I'm walking her through. I'm helping, and then I'm the guide. And so I do whatever comes up. And just like she's doing, right? We can't ever understand it in our head. This is vast. It's
Mm-mm.
beyond all of us. And so she's going, and I'm like, just don't be afraid. Just keep going. It just means you have healing to do. You got to see the cycles. You know what I mean? But until you see it, you can't see it. And so she's just going, and she tried so I processed through after that one because we got to rise before the earth, right? The earth was not ascending yet. It was not going through the gates yet, which it is now. And you can see that now because it aligns to everything I did in the pyramid activations. Okay. But I did this thing in Patreon. I'm like, we're going to do the 13 gates healing. And this was when she didn't quite clear all her karma. And I had said in there, you're not all going to be able to make it through yet. And she got bounced out. It
Mm-hmm.
was painful for her. It made her physically ill. She got bounced out at like the fifth or the sixth gate.
Oh that was the healing
13
of
gates
the
to
13 gates
abundance.
of abundance. And I couldn't do it. It it did. And when I talk about being sick, I don't mean a little sick. I mean sick for days sick. And I got to gate 6.
And
And
she was upset.
ironically,
Yeah, she
yeah,
was
I
like,
was like,
oh
wait
my
a
God, I
second,
can't make
wait.
it through.
Yeah, but you didn't know either. You thought because I got to the gates that would work. No, I still had stuff to do, and part of that stuff I had to do had to involve that 6th gate, which I believe that I am mastering more
What's
now.
the sixth gate?
It is your ego, it's your mind, it's ego and matrix mind control,
And then
and that has
we realized it was the red dragon because that came
yeah,
through in the 13 gates to heaven
yep. Yep,
recently.
and I had to redo that one too. So when we went through there, I had to redo 3, 6, and 9 gates.
Yeah.
3, 6, and 9.
Yeah. And you were scared, right?
Ah,
So this last one just happened after August. So in August 1st,
mm-hmm.
God had me birth the new earth. And you were there because they're in my personal group. And when I'm not kidding you, I had to process the snake in my garden. I felt my DM and I come back together again, and I felt it. And it was like the sun and the moon coming back to it was so profound and it was painful. And everybody is like, it's a blessing. And I'm like, no, this hurts. Like I was like literally it was scary. I had that dream of the snake coming at me and throwing up the rat. And I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean? You guys help me. Like, I'm not well. I need to take a day off. So I had to actually process that out. That was like the fourth
Mm-hmm.
or the fifth gate in the 13 steps to heaven. And this was after I built and created the new earth. Then I literally took the earth through all 13 portals. I was taking the earth through the portals. And that's what she's referring to. She was scared to do this one. She was actually assuming she may not make it through, but what you didn't realize is I was healing you through them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you had to redo 3, 6, and 9 very
Yep.
intently. Now, the sixth gate had to do with what portal? Do you remember? I know the fourth one was Atlantis, and that was Machu Picchu.
Oh gosh, I don't. You're asking me for way too many details.
I know I'm the
My
one bringing
mind
it through, so I
doesn't
remember these.
remember
These
all
are
of it. I don't
profound. They're
know.
biblical. They truly are the true Bible. They're prophetic. But the sixth gate, the red dragon came in. Mount Shasta kept tying back in. And so that was the portal of the mind, and that is where you struggled the most. And that's the full
Mm-hmm.
circle of your journey, because that's where you would argue with me the most. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand what you're doing. And I'm like, dream on. You're never going to understand it here. You need to feel it here. I'm like, stop doing that. This is not psychology. This is spirituality 101, right? Like, get out of your head, Lisa. Get out of your head. Meditate. She's like, I
Yeah.
can't meditate. Breathe like, I was like, stop it. I mean, we're making light of it, but no, she really did.
It was that. I mean, and I'll tell you. I mean, like, just this whole time of not being able to deeply meditate like I wanted to, like And not
How
that I
long did
didn't
it
have
take you?
times.
How long has it taken you to not, and you,
It,
okay, let's be real.
it's been
Minus the
18
time you
months.
gave up. Minus the time you gave up, Sunshine, because there was a time there where you're like,
Well,
fuck this, I'm not going to make it. And that was when you came back with an apology because you're like, it's just not working. Like, I'm not getting it. You were trying to process it here. And I kept telling you, no, don't give up because they teach us wrong in meditation, number one. They really do. And I kept coming back. And so there was a little gap in there where she didn't put full effort. Let's just put it that way. So minus that time where you're giving full effort on meditating, how long did it truly take you to get out of a very busy mind and into what you're meditating now? You'll come back and go, breathe, like I lost time. It was like an hour I was meditating. I'm like,
yeah. Well, and I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but in all honesty, when from having the perspective shift,
yes.
um, the next day, like it
Right. No,
was
but
that.
no, I'm just saying in that time frame you weren't putting in the effort.
Oh, okay.
So there was
Well,
a little bit of time there where you
like the
weren't
first
putting in
couple
full
of
effort.
months, I wasn't even trying to do too much of my
Yeah.
own personal meditation because I was like, where do I even find time? Because I was
Yeah,
spending
yeah, you
so
let every
much.
excuse take over. I remember
Yeah,
that. You're like, I
yeah,
don't have time. I'm like, okay, then you don't have time. Like,
yeah.
what do you want me to say?
I was like, because I'm doing all these other stuff that you're having me do, and yep, I had every excuse. But so you take
Yeah,
away those 2 months, you take away, a probably well a couple of weeks at least, but even to say 3 months worth out of the 18, so like 15 months that I've been truly practicing, to and again, it's not 100%, but it is my lesson for that was the self-doubt. When I was able to truly recognize that it was me and own that and really find every way out of my own way, that was the shift.
yeah. I
and
love that. I love that so much.
and
Everybody
now it
loves
is,
instant
I
shift.
meditate, and it's like, and it's almost as if I fell asleep, but I didn't, because I'm not like, when I'm done. No, it's not like that. Like, time just stopped in that moment. Time just stopped. And and it has only been like a week, but it's been the best week for meditation that I have ever experienced out of the full, my full journey.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of time there, you are letting excuses get in the way. The world, I'm sure you can see, has a way of trying to distract you, trying to convince you. Otherwise, there's a lot of resistance to what I tell you because it is real. It's
mm-hmm.
very real. And, people might like your mom, and we've experienced many times throw judgments our way and think we are cray cray or say it's a cult or, I mean, I'm not, am I a cult, Lisa? Like
Oh my
truly,
God.
truly. Be honest. If I am, tell everybody to run, please, because
Run towards her. If you're gonna run
warning, it
towards
might blow
her.
your mind. I'm just saying.
It will blow your mind.
Mm.
And for all the most beautiful, profound, exceptional, extraordinary, miraculous ways possible. Oh,
Oh, by the way, I could sit here with an ego and go, yeah, I did this. I'm like, did I just do that? And we will process it. And I'm like, and we'll talk about it for like a while. Like, that just really happened. Like, oh my God. Like, we're
yeah.
like, like, I'm just, I'm blessed and I'm open. And just like she said, just like I told you, it's like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I didn't know that about her dad. I didn't know the totality of I didn't know you went to the doctor and had a mammogram. And a year ago, that would have been something you would have been like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And you would have been in a panic. But you
Oh
didn't.
yeah.
You literally kept
Yep.
your mouth shut. You held space and you gave it to God. And then
Yes,
both
I
of us were
did.
like, you're like, by the way, I just had a mammogram a week ago. I'm like, are you serious? Thank you for that validation because I saw it and I felt it. People don't realize this. I feel it to the bone.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's insane. But can I feel those through medications? Can we feel those things through drugs? Mm-mm.
Nope. And
We can't.
first for being on the amount of psychiatric medications I was on and for the length of time that I was on them, it takes time to process out. It does. And the detoxing that we've done
Oh
through,
gosh. Yeah.
and that, I mean, you don't, people wake up. She gives us everything,
Oh
everything
yeah,
we
everything.
need. It's all here.
Yeah, that path to righteousness is
It's
it's like
beautiful.
everything you need. It was what central nervous system healing, brain stuff. Like like the art things.
And yes, and the creative releasing that is, it's discovered my path. I thought, and I'm a photographer. I've always been a photographer, so I had artistic side, like I could see things, but it shifted into painting, and and whew, and I'm still trying to, get my feet wrapped around that and what's that going to look like. And in fact, that's what I'll be doing some painting this afternoon when I get back after, like, I get to go see my mom today and going to run some errands for her. But it's my messages this morning were very clear that, get in balance and to do, follow your path, and my
Yeah, because
creative side.
I
So
don't teach you just to hear me. I teach you
no,
to hear you. I
yes,
teach you to hear your heart, and I teach you to hear God, true God, not a religious God. True
correct.
God, truth, to see beyond the veil. And you'll literally be like, wow, that didn't feel right. I had to clear it. And I'm like, yes. You're like, that thought's not love. I'm like, yes. Like you
Yeah.
had like and you used to be the first one to go, I can't. And I don't know, and throw judgment. And I'm like, ooh, sweetheart, like that didn't feel good. Then you get sad and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna go to hell. And I'm like, stop it, stop it, stop it. Like, but that's that conditioning. It really
Yeah.
is. It's like
Yep.
this weird mental torture. And even Amy is saying, yeah, it took
Yes,
her.
mental
So
torture. It was me
yes.
doing it to myself. I had to get out of my own way fully.
Yes, yes. And even Amy is saying it took her over a year to get them out of her system. So she was on anxiety meds when I met her too. And I know Justine isn't here. And I don't really want to speak for her necessarily, but when I met her, she was on severe asthmatic stuff, and I didn't know that. You don't come to me thinking, okay, I'm going to heal these and get off medications. You don't think that because we're so conditioned to a medical field. I had somebody
Right.
the other day be like, okay, like I did a healing on her and I had to replace the whole liver. And so she kept coming like, do I detox? Like, I don't feel good. Oh my God. And I told her, you're gonna feel sicker before you feel better. Why is it that your first healing session with me makes you feel like you got hit by a Mack truck and you're dying? Like, because she felt so ill. And I tried to tell her,
Yeah.
this is real. You are gonna have symptoms because you
Hmm.
are now gonna process everything that I just did. Like,
Yes.
what are your
Yes.
experiences after you have a healing session?
Oh my
Especially your
gosh.
first ones.
Well, you know what? I won't even speak to those because for me, I didn't have a lot of those negative ones. But
I wouldn't
I
say
can't,
negative, but like deep
no,
processing,
yeah, yeah,
physical
sorry.
reactions.
I didn't have all the physical reactions. Mine were very positive right away. Like I saw, but I was also at the same time, um, you know, doing the workshops, and it was the workshops that would kick my hiney,
Because
like
they were
from
Christ
here
light.
to
They
New
were true
York.
Christ light, you guys. I was bringing down Christ light and I was activating pyramids.
Yeah,
That's what she's referring to. So go
yeah,
ahead.
and there was right there at the very beginning. That was that very first one of the first. It was the second workshop. I think it was the very first one of the pyramid ones because I did a workshop prior, but then the pyramid workshops, I want to say it was the first one of that. And 6 days, I was down and out for 6 days. And I'm like, oh, crap, is this going to get better? And you just, drink more water, flush your system. And at that time, I still was just starting with the whole water. Like, I in fact had gone through this weight loss thing back in the day where I did this hypnosis thing, and they said you got to drink 8 glasses of water a day. If it was to save your life, would you do it? I couldn't do it. And now I get there some days, but that, you know, I'm not even at 8 glasses a day, but I'm better, right?
Well,
Like I
shit. Then you did the
recognize
detoxing with me and you said you lost what, like 15 pounds? I was like,
I have. I mean,
yeah. And that was just doing the detox with
I
me.
was round. I was round. I have on my journey in this 18 months. Let's see. I'm like 30 pounds. I've lost
From
like
true
30 pounds in
healing.
the last year
From
and a
true
half.
healing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you don't just, it's not just the changes that I'm making to my diet or exercise. It, you know, yes, those things matter. Of course they
Yeah.
matter, but it's processing out all the yuck and the muck that's stuck in our system that, you know, adds weight. The reasons why we've done things, or the, you know, the patterns of behavior that have kept us,
Trapped
you know,
emotions.
in these cyclic cycles. Whew, man, and I had a good one. I had a real good pattern that I'm it's not perfectly gone. It's not, it's but I'm getting real close. And I can see it more and more now. And so when I
So good.
recognize it, then, you know, or even I had two crows. I had two crows fly over me yesterday. So you all, I lost my phone. I took my dog for a walk and he got the better of me. He pulled me down around, and if the guy down the road hadn't seen it, nobody would have believed it. Because I mean, just like whoosh and around and about and down to the ground I went. Unbeknownst to me, my phone fell out of my pocket. And we walked for an hour. I get back and I go to turn off my, you know, because I've got a tracker on there. It keeps, you know, my steps and everything else, you know, and I'm like, where'd my phone go? Lost my phone. So I'm coming back. I walked the other dog, a little dog, down there to the same place where I fell because I assumed it had to be there. That's the only place, right? Well, I didn't go far enough, as it turns out, went to the wrong house. So I couldn't find it, but I'm on my way back. And there's two crows flying overhead. And, you know, and in that moment, I was like, okay, that's a message. Something's going on here. And I recognized that I was getting myself worked up because I didn't find a phone and I walked down there. And now I'm like, okay, it's got to be somewhere. God's going to help. So I changed everything that what I was thinking in that moment completely, 100% stopped. I literally stopped Wookie with my dog. I was walking and I stopped and I said, okay. I took a deep breath and I said, God, please help me find my phone. I know you will help me find my phone. It's if it wasn't at that house, then I just didn't see it at home. I didn't pick it up something, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I just kept breathing the rest of the walk home. And I had to come on and try to get onto an app that I couldn't get on, even though I was entering the correct password and all these things. It was like this test to just, how calm can you be, Lisa? What did you
You've
learn?
learned.
What
Yeah,
have you
everything's a
learned?
test.
And I was like, okay. Finally got that all squared away. Found out that I was 3 houses away from where the house where I went. And because there was two trailers, as I knew I was before a trailer, like a camping trailer in the street. Well, there go past that camping trailer was another camping trailer, and that was the house where I go.
So
I
once you
get that.
calmed down and you listen to the energies surrounding you and the messages and this is what I teach you. This is what I teach you in how to read spirit, how to talk to spirit, how to talk to yourself, because we're all energy, but we can't hear it when we're panicking. We can't
Right.
hear it when there's fear. We can't hear it when there's
Yep.
expectations and judgments and yeah.
And
And
I
then
was
you
just so
found your
dang
phone.
proud. And I was just like,
Because
okay, it
that's
wasn't
not you a year ago. No.
this wasn't me 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I I have I have made some profound, profound shifts and changes, and so much perspective shifts just since the beginning of July. So July, August, September. Yeah, I'm gonna go on like for the last 4 months have been.
And that's everything. That's everything.
Well, I recognize in that moment that, you know what, and ironically, I pulled that card today, but you can't be complacent.
No,
You can't
thank
be
you.
complacent.
No,
You
in spirit.
can't
No.
just coast.
Nope.
We don't have time to coast. You got to keep digging. And, you know, and the next thing that comes, boom, dig into that shit. Crap. Sorry.
That's okay. I do it every now and then again too. It's all right. It's all good in the hood.
But
I'm
it's
real.
so
I'm not
important.
fake.
We don't have time. We
No,
don't have time. We
no.
don't have time.
No, I
So
keep trying to tell people that. And by the way, because you're an outsider, I didn't condition you. I didn't know you from Tom, Dick, or Harry. You came in towards the end of the Christ light stuff, the pyramid activations. Then you took the path to righteousness. And just like you said, it was like a boom, boom, boom. I didn't tell you, hey, do this. You're like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And when I sit here and say things like, hey, listen to me, hear me clearly, people were not choosing love. Okay, there's something out there that says if there were like 10 saints or something, you have literally watched people rise through it and battle that shadow and battle the resistance. You did it yourself. These are things that you
yeah.
felt, you've seen, you saw my battle. My battle was very real, very painful. I went from very thin and beautiful to my DM dying and swelling up. Like you've watched all of
And
that.
you're still beautiful.
Why,
Yes.
thank you. But
Own
you've,
that.
I do, but I'm just saying I've physically changed. Like you
Yes,
can
yes.
see what I did on my physical vessel. My
Yeah.
solar plexus was blown out so many times. I look like I'm pregnant and I'm not. Like I exercise, but anyways, my point is you've seen it all. You've witnessed it all. You've felt it all. And when I told you guys is that listen carefully because I will say something and then the work will ensue. Okay. So I
Hmm.
will say, so, hey, God's putting this through. We got to do that. And then something will come and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but we got to go. And we go and we're all mind blown. We're like, oh my God, like this is real. Like I couldn't make this up if I tried. Okay. I can't make these up. And God shows it with everything I do that I know what I'm talking about. And then I literally said to you guys, we're bypassing time. We are bypassing time. We are no longer in a tribulation period. I
No.
don't know what else to say. People think we have 7 years tribulation. We are rising now.
Yeah.
I have taken you through the portals. And then on the 8th day of August this year through Lionsgate, the 12 trumpets blasted. It was the 7th day. The 12 trumpets blasted, and each trumpet that would blast, because there's 13 gates, the 13th is heaven, the one they closed off when the 12 trumpets would blast, burr, burr, something would happen to the earth. It would be like, bam. And then I would say like the wind and the water and the earthquakes and the fires and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, procrastination does not serve you. So what happened is
No.
everybody fell into resistance and a lot of people were choosing not to push past judgment, to resistance, to fear, to doubt, to expectation because do I look like Jesus? Well, maybe just a female version, right? But beyond that, that's a false concept of God is just a man named Jesus. Was he real? Yes, because
Very
you
much
watched
so.
me process the Holy Grail. You watched
Yeah.
it, you witnessed it, okay? And
Yeah.
so as we're going through these portals, you can feel it. Like we can feel
Yeah.
it, we're seeing it. Like, I want you to be as honest as freaking possible right now. Am I speaking truth? Am I making this up? Am I reading it from a book? Do I know what's coming? Or is it real? Like, are we all experiencing it together and being
You
just
would
as
have
blown
to
away as
be,
me?
I think you would have to be a savant in order to come up with this shit. There's absolutely no possible way that you could
Mm-mm.
know and how it all ties together. Like, I mean, the
Oh,
best
I know.
writers in the world couldn't write this.
Thank you. Because I get like mind blown and I'm like, Spirit is so cool. Like, this is so good. Like, oh my God. And it was my own awakening. You know what I'm
And
saying?
then the ones that I could see in my mind's eye while we're there, like the one that I really got to see, the first one I truly really got to experience was when Horus got his, Horus Rising. And
That's
I
one of my
remember at the
favorites.
end going, yeah, that would make the best movie ever. And I was so excited because I was just like, because I could see that soul searching him out and boom, and like
Right?
all of it, like I could
That's
see it.
amazing.
And I tell you, everybody, listen, it comes if you free your mind, it comes if you open your heart, and it comes if
Open
you
your heart.
accept it. But
Mhm.
you have that choice. You only you have that choice. you.
Yes.
And that's why I keep choosing it. I choose love and I choose to be free. I choose this miraculous stuff, whatever it is. I choose this energy. I choose to rise. I choose to evolve and to grow and to be the very best me that I am meant to be.
That's all it is. Yep. And love, love, love. And the Horus thing you talked about, that's one of my favorite ones, you guys, because we do the art workshops, right? Like I do these art creative flow workshops, and I'm not the best artist either. It's not just about painting, it's about freeing your mind and the connection of the art self. And in one of them, they had me paint this Egyptian masculine and feminine and a clock melting and a snake. And it said, it's time. And I'm like, you guys, I don't know what this means, but they had me paint this. And I talk about my paintings all the time, how they come through. And then when they come through, little did we know that, oh shit, that's the return of Christ and this is coming. So that time I did a masculine and a feminine and they look Egyptian. I'll have to show it sometime. And it said, it's time. And it pointed to a snake. And then a clock melting. And then within 3 weeks, we did Horus Return. Within 3 weeks, the workshop of Horus Return came in, and I didn't know it was coming. And they had to help me because my DM wasn't physically with me, but he took on the soul. So Horus rose from the Sphinx, like straight up rose from the Sphinx. Now, the
He
Sphinx came
did.
in many times in the Return of Christ. Yes. It's not really called the Sphinx. It's actually called Horus Return. I can't. It's not in English terms either, but that was actually what it meant. So that was so cool. It was one of my very first, but we had the painting before the workshop even came through. And there were like two, do you remember that? And there were like two Egyptian people in that painting. And it's not the best. I should grab it, but I'm like, I don't know what this means, you guys. And then little did we know, because Sekhmet had already happened. I
Mm-hmm.
already cleared the crystal in the core. And you guys, when God said it's time now, you either have to be fully healed of all karma now or you won't make it. Like, why is this? Because we have to be light.
Yep. Yep.
And
We
so we
can't
don't know. We don't know what's coming. It
we
just
can't
comes.
take this into the new earth. Why would we? We're trying to get rid of this. We don't want to bring it with us, you know,
Yeah, but
and it is difficult sometimes, or it feels challenging. Um, but it's just a perspective. If you see it as an opportunity to, and I'm going to use your words, Bree, because I hear you in my head right now. It's an opportunity to love more. Where was love not? So, you know what? Yeah, okay. I just didn't love enough there. I got to do that again. I'm going to learn this lesson, and I am going to make sure that that person knows that I love them, or me. I'm going to make sure that I love me more. Whatever it is, we
so
just need
can
to
you see
heal
the
through that.
energies now? Can you see the energies now? Can you see how
Mm-mm.
darkness comes up and it goes,
Oh, yeah,
you're not this and you can't do
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
and it's like all these things. And if you stop, if you just stop for 1 second and you listen very carefully to your heart and say, is that love? Does
Right.
that feel like love? Is that truth? Is that my own power? Because one of the keys in the path to righteousness is what? One of the first things I do for you is I awaken you.
Yep.
Then I have you get your power back. I heal you, but I give you the tools because
Yep.
through each portal, you have to be able to see the difference between love and not love. You have to be able to call your power back when that
Yep.
shadow is like, and your head is like, and your energy is like, you have to be able to go, humbly dumb, and just be like, I call my power back. And then you get a lens of clarity, right? And then after that, you all of a sudden shift in energy and you're like healing and you're like rising and you're like, that shit was real. And then
Yeah.
you go on to
Yes,
the
it
next one
is.
and you're like, oh, right? So can you see that now as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to when you first started getting healings from me?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I know even more will come. Um, I I've got a ways to go. I know this, and
Yeah.
to get to mastery level.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm
Well,
learning
that's
my
what it's about.
lessons.
That's
I'm
what it's
learning my
about.
lessons. Yep.
Yeah. And it's
And
never about, who's wrong and right. It's about where love is not. It's
mhm,
never about anything other than mastering the self.
yep.
I
And
love
it's
how you put
it's
that.
it's beautiful. It's when you shift the perspective and you find the silver lining for me has been, wow, like it's just it's extraordinary that you can believe so hard, so deep, so you can be so rigid in your thinking, and it feels so valid. That you're like, why can't she see this? What do you mean? Why? And then to just stop and go. And that's this is what I mean by when I say, okay, God, I know she has something. You're trying to have me hear something. Please, I ask to please allow whatever it is that needs to rise, for that truth to rise, for me to see this truth, because it is not doing me justice. And clearly it isn't. And whatever way that I've been thinking, something's not right with it. So, okay, I'm going to give myself some space and just let the truth rise. Please, God, let me see my own truth. And I
Without
can't tell you,
expectations.
yes, without expectations, without making judgments of self, because that was a big one for me. That was gate 3.
You
I
guys, these
know
are
what
real.
these
These gates are
are.
real. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
judgment is a gate, mind is the gate. Like it's real. These are real testaments to God.
And then gate 9, because I said mine were 3, 6, and 9. 9 was time. And I've not
Oh
struggled as
yeah.
much with that. That has come,
Amy
but it
can
does
attest
come
to
in.
that
I
one.
feel that. I can feel it. There's time. There are times when it, I'm rushing.
Mhm.
You've helped to bring my energy, calm my energy again. Or and then I think, okay, well, I'm not going to need to do that because, we're not going to be here, or whatever, dumb thought gets in my head. And I'm just
Expectations.
like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. And I call my power back from that crap. And
Because this is bigger than our mind. This is bigger than it's bigger than me. And I've brought it through. And I try to tell everybody this is bigger than me. Just ride the wave. We just have to be here. Open your heart and listen. Don't let anything stop you. Don't get in the way of yourself. Right? It's
yeah,
bigger
and it is,
than we
at
are.
least for me. And then I know we all have, we have an individual journey, but I
Yeah.
will tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the biggest hindrance for me 100% was me. I, in my own way, 100% of the time I was in my own way.
Yeah.
The moment that I truly stepped out of my way and
Mhm.
allowed for that new perspective,
Mhm.
to I I might have been right in 3D Earth.
Yes. In our limited perspective, yes. In logical
I
standpoint,
was
you're
very
right.
much right. Like that fit for here,
It
but
doesn't
not
work
where I'm
anymore.
going.
We can't do the same things
Not where I'm
anymore.
going.
Thank you for that. And let's go back to time really quick because time is tricky. Time is tricky. So
Yeah.
I can sit here and say we don't have time, right? We don't have time. To think you have time is a mistake because then that's when you get complacent. Well, oh, I can put this off, or when I can afford this, or when I have time, I will do this. I actually literally heard somebody say, I don't have time to watch your videos, yet they don't realize that that was undoing the Holy Grail. That was activating the pyramids. It's real. And so that's one of the ways the shadow tries to work against you is time.
Yep.
God tells you, be in the here and the now only. That is all we have. You don't know when. God would never tell you what day lightning is going to strike the town hall, okay?
Right.
Because that is not for us to know. What is for us to know is to trust, to be open, and just listen to the guidance that comes through so that we're not at the town hall when the freaking thing strikes because, hey, I heard this or my keys fell and I had to go over here and I'm paying attention to the crows over there. And I was over here when that shit happened because, I listen inward to the world around me.
Right.
Okay. And
Yep.
so time is tricky. Time is tricky. Okay. Because I've seen it. I've seen it happen to Amy. Procrastination won't get you to your destination. She says that specifically because the shadow,
Agreed.
the matrix will work through your loved ones. It will work through anybody with a
Yes.
shadow because they've picked it up. They've given their power to it. And so they're prone to doing that. They will pick up that asshole energy, as I call it, because it hurts, and they will throw it. Okay. Or they will pick it up and block themselves. And so we don't have yesterday. You don't need to worry about that because everything can be done today. So a lot of healers will be like, go in your past and go into your childhood and stay there for a week. Please don't do that. Okay. It'll come to you here now when you need it. And Lisa's
Yes,
experienced
it
that
will.
too.
Yes,
Yes.
it will.
Yes. Okay. And I
Yep.
teach people that it's like, I don't have to go backwards. I need to be now. And I don't worry about tomorrow or 5 minutes from now. I have only right now. So when I tell you God said we don't have more time, it is time to rise now. You guys, the end is closer than we know. That creates fear. Only when you think about tomorrow and all the crap you got to do to get there. But if you align right now and you listen to your heart and you know that the only thing we have is right here and right now, everything can come to you now.
And the
Okay.
irony to what you just said there, and why I'm laughing, because like after the Lionsgate portal, I was just like, oh God, let's be done with this now. I'm tired of it,
I
like because
remember that.
we've been battling. So,
Yeah.
and that's where that was coming from. And now I say, God, just please give me enough time to do all that to heal as much as I can. I want to heal more. I just want to heal more. I don't, because I know that this is the place to learn. We're here to learn and to grow and to evolve. So yeah, I don't want to keep hurting. I don't want to keep battling in the shadow, but I do want to make sure that I would like to have all the time necessary for me to get through everything that, I need to, so I can be the best version of myself in whatever comes next.
That's based in expectation. That's based in you knowing what's coming tomorrow. You don't
Right.
know.
No, yeah, I don't, because I don't know. So
Right.
that's what I'm hoping to please allow.
Yes. Yes. And the thing about the ascension that people don't understand is if you're on the path to rising, it doesn't end tomorrow. We keep going.
Right.
We
Yes.
don't stop learning and healing and growing. We just clear all the karma and everything that we're not. And then we're going to come
True,
more
true.
into like our full self and we're going to expand and grow and love and joy and like what they talk about. They will talk about this 1,000 years of golden era. And I'm like, fuck that, 1,000 years kiss my ass. Like I'm going on for a lifetime. Screw you. Like 1,000 years seems very minimal to the work that I just did. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So again, based in time. This is a great reset of mankind. We will never return again to that karmic reality. If you do not clear all your karma now, you can't come here ever again to do it.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's like I want to get rid of any and everything that I can while I have it available to me to do so,
Yeah.
in this plane, in this life, in this reality, in this comprehension.
Yeah. Yeah. And since one final thing to end this out is since you went through the portal and God said, oh, guess what? I've seen your work. You didn't clear all your karma and you got that. And that hit you hard. That hit you hard. And it kind of blinded you a little bit. So we had to circle around to back that. Since then, can you look back now and see the lessons that actually presented themselves to you to this day
Mm-hmm.
from that moment?
Yep. Some there's been a few, but some pretty profound ones. And one of the very, very biggest ones has to do with my mom.
Yeah.
And
Healing,
it's not
healing
just
karma.
it's not just her, but it was through her I was able to learn the lesson. And
But through you as well. So it's all connected, right? It's all connected. It's just being open and letting the fear drop, letting the
mhm,
expectations go. Because when you had that karma presented to you, that contract to still continue, expectations ensued. What trying to understand it in our head, trying to figure it out. And I
mhm,
had to just sit back and give you space and let you come back to a centered standpoint. And I remember there was a couple times where it's like, okay, pay attention to the cyclic patterning, and you'd go into fear, like, oh my God, like I don't want to miss this. Like you'd put so much pressure on yourself.
mhm,
But when you truly just sat still and you were just open and you were just trusting, knowing that you were on the path, have you learned now that it's going to present itself, whatever is needed, it comes through to you as long
mhm.
as you're open. And then when you choose, what is the biggest choice you have to make on the path? Out of
Love,
everything that comes,
love.
love, 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 love. Out of
So
everything that comes up, it's a lesson in love.
so ironically, um, just so you go to the dentist every 6 months, ideally, right? Okay, get a cleaning every 6 months. So 6 months ago, I found a
Without
new dentist for
fluoride.
yes,
Without
without
fluoride, please.
fluoride. So I took dad and I found a new dentist. We went to the dentist. And it was a very good experience. Okay, don't get me wrong, very good experience. And I felt like I was pretty calm with dad, but it's new. You don't know how he's going to be from day to day and moment to moment, and with new people, new things. Anyway, I think it went very well. And we just had our 6 month checkup here again now. 2 weeks ago now, I guess. Anyway, and the hygienist says to me, and she'd only met me one time 6 months ago. And we end up having a spiritual conversation while she's cleaning my teeth. I kid you not. And I'm like, so she would have the pause so I can talk for a second. But she said to me, she goes, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, because I think she says you were very kind and patient with your dad, but you seem far more calm this time. And I went, thank you.
And that's not the only validation you had either. What about on your birthday? When your mom was in the hospital? Who came to you and validated you?
Mother Mary.
Well, somebody
Mother
from
Mary
your
came.
past actually came forward and said, you're not the same person anymore.
Oh, yeah, my ex.
So you've actually had this repeating.
Yeah. And people, yeah. Ironically, it's not my family who says it or sees it yet. But my friends have. And then like this hygienist that I'd only seen once before, a stranger, you know. Yeah, and my ex, that was really profound. That she had seen it back in March, and then even mentioned it again just here, a couple weeks back. And she says that woman that I dated, that woman that I loved that lived in this house, she's not here anymore. Who knew?
Now that makes it worth it. Because you struggled. You went to therapy. You went to the doctors. And it was like this weird cyclic patterning that never got anywhere. And then you
And I kept asking
me.
for help and I couldn't get it. It never came.
It did come.
No, it came through you before. It never came.
Yeah. Came when it was ready. It came when it was time, and it came when you were open to receive it. Doesn't mean there wasn't resistance. Doesn't mean there wasn't big pushes for you to stop your journey.
And I remember thinking, why the hell do you have to make me wait till I was 48 years old for this to happen? How come I didn't get to come on it 5 years ago, and like make my way through all this? I questioned this, it's like
I did too. When I had
like,
my
wait,
sudden
why?
Kundalini, when I had my sudden Kundalini awakening, I didn't just start out activating pyramids. I had this weird awakening. Then I was seeing all these things, feeling all these things, and I was doing these miraculous healings I couldn't put my finger on. And I remember asking my friend going, why did it take this freaking long for what is happening? Like, why is this happening now? Like this could have happened 5 years ago and I could have healed my dad, and he wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't have awoken. You know what I mean? Because when he died, I watched him die on Valentine's Day. And so I went inward. I went to therapy. That didn't work. And then I went inward. I'm like, I gotta fix this. Like, this doesn't feel right. And that's how you spark an awakening. You go within. So you realize everything happens for a reason. Everything does happen in the time. But if you pick up the opportunity, and that opportunity might be so subtle, it might be something you didn't see coming from a person you didn't see expecting. There's some people are expecting a man to come out of the sky and they don't realize Jesus has been here the whole time. And it's not just a man named Jesus. I would have thought I was crazy. Matter of fact, I did. Okay. I had my own psych evaluation done after my awakening. People don't know that because I was seeing shit that wasn't normal. I was doing stuff that wasn't normal that not one healer could explain to me or express to me. Oh, that's remote viewing. No, it's not. This is more than remote
Times
viewing.
10,
Times
100.
50. Yeah, like what?
Yeah.
Like I was literally outside of myself and traveling, playing. People could see things, they could feel it, they knew, and I knew what they were wearing. Like it was cray cray. Okay. Like totally different. And so I did my own psych eval because it does look, it's not our normal. Okay.
No, it's not normal. And thank God it's not. Uh,
Raise the roof. Thank God it's not. Thank God we have this. Thank God we have the ability to grow. And thank
yeah.
God God didn't just bring what I did. Okay. I didn't just do what I did and say, F mankind, you have no way through. That's not it at all. And when I sit here and say you have to heal, you have to clear all karma, God actually gave you the path.
Yes, yes, he did. Yes, he did. And I am so abundantly grateful every single day for that decision, for that choice.
The
And for
choice.
the time, back to time. It does, but you know what? We all have time. It's perspective.
If you want
Do
it.
you
Yep.
choose to watch TV? Do you choose to,
Go to
I
work
don't
your nine
know,
to five
whatever
in the
it is.
matrix to worry about money, to be afraid to, oh, I can't do this. I don't have
Yeah,
time. I could. It's an illusion.
it is. And I'm glad to be gone to that.
Mhm.
And I can tell when it starts to come back now, which I'm grateful for that too. And
Yeah.
then I own mine, I own it. I'll be
Thank
like,
you.
okay, when I'm clearing my energy and I'm going through and I've been in fear or worry or, and that reminder yesterday of Goosey saying, mommy, you got to stop worrying so much. But when
Yes,
I
because
come
when
through
I
and I
do
clear
healings
that
on
part of,
dogs, it's just like I do it on people. He speaks through me. So when you do it, if you
mm-hmm,
get an animal healing with me, you will learn about your pet things you may not have known. But
mm-hmm,
then they validate it so well. So it's just as
yeah.
beautiful as people. Just
But
as
I
beautiful.
wanted to own the fact that I, I am a part of creating that veil. And so that is part of what I release
Everybody
is my
is.
ownership that, okay, I recognize that I allowed the shadow in. I recognize that I helped create this veil and I now remove this veil and I see myself peeling it off or scraping it out or, all of it. I do that. It's
That reminded me of something. When you first started working with me, you hurt me when you did it, but you didn't see that. It doesn't matter. But I was on Facebook and I was like, clear Mount Shasta, because there was actually this spiritual group that I came like through at one point. Not, they didn't cause my awakening. God put me there for a reason. And it turns out the leader of it just became pure darkness. But when I was in it, like there was a lot of people and they were noticing that I wasn't normal before I was. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you're so powerful. Like, wait. And they would like freak out on me. And I'm like, what is happening to me? Like, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And then when I did all the work, they fell off because they were attached to that big shadow. And one of them had a very big purpose, a few of them actually. And so it was unfortunate that they didn't rise with me. They actually fell into that. And so I posted on Facebook one time, I'm like, you have to clear Mount Shasta. And you're like, for other people, like, I can't remember how you worded it, but it was a little bit still in judgment yourself because you didn't understand Mount Shasta. You didn't
yeah.
understand the veil. And you talking about the veil just then, it was like, oh, light bulb moment you didn't see. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. So telling other people, what is the veil? What is Mount Shasta? And how does that pertain to the shadow? And how is that your key to end this video?
Well, the veil is what gets created by the shadow. It's what blocks us. It blocks us, and I see it as like something here, right? Because like if that's our crown and our, our third eye. So it like comes over and it just blocks our ability to be able to see clearly. And it comes in, in all the ways of like judgment and expectations and, lack, all the
Yes.
shackles. It comes in through all of those forms, and the more that you pick it up, the more that you believe in that money over love or greed or envy or jealousy or doubt. Doubt was big for me, or judgment, just judgment of self. Even it doesn't even have to be judgment of others. You're judging yourself, there it is, and it creates this veil, and it gets thicker and darker to the point where, like right now most of the collective can't see through it. And so, they'll hear somebody else say something, who has that same dark shadow, and they believe it because, well, it makes sense. And that's why I said in 3D Earth, it is almost valid. I mean, it will hold water. It would hold water. But
Before, yeah.
when you finally clear that veil that we help to put there, because we keep believing, we keep buying into,
Free will.
these judgments. Yeah, right. Our free will, we're allowing this to take place. Then, but as we clear that, we can see better.
Through choices.
Then
Literally just through
through our
choices.
choices, then we rise in frequency. Then we can understand more. We start to feel. Okay, right? We start to now feel our body. We feel into the energies around us. We can feel what Mother Earth is trying to share with us, and we are more in tune to our guides, and the angels are trying to show us and to teach us and guide us and sending us messages. Like the crows, it's like there was two crows and one guy was squawking, he was here and he was talking to the other guy back here, and he's like, hey, wake up, stop it, stop it, stop it. And I heard that loud and clear. It wasn't in English, but I heard it. It is, and it's the most beautiful experience of your life if you choose to allow it through.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. And boy, was that veil thick, right? Like I have seen
Oh,
people who are supposed to be on the path to righteousness, and you guys don't realize is that I read into your heart. So I know your thoughts. I read minds. Lisa, how many times in a healing am I reading your mind? And I'm like, okay, and I'll say it out loud. I'm like, well, we'll put that aside, and you're not even talking to me. But you're like, oh, my
yeah.
daughter did it the other day in our healing. She goes, Mom, you read my mind. She was kind of freaked out. She's 12 years old. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I promise. I know I did. It's okay. She's like, how does this happen? And she like went into a panic a little bit, but it was cute. So
But it's
I
important
do
to
that.
note that you can still only hear what we give you permission to hear.
Yes.
So for
I only
people
work
not to
through
go
free
in
will.
fear and think, oh, I don't want a healing because I don't want her to
No,
know this. If you don't
no.
want her to know something, she won't know it, because
Yeah,
that is
no,
your
it's only
free
through
will.
free will. Yep. I work through God, truly. I can't know anything that's not in your heart to know, but that's also the thing is I am who I am, and I can't deny that. And so you can lie to yourself all you want. You can play into the illusion all that you want, and I see the truth. Energy doesn't lie. Okay. And so that's a big deal, right? Like
Yep.
we're so engulfed in the shadow, we can't see our own truth, but I can. Like I truly can. And so when I say things, it's your heart alignment. And and it takes people to digest that. It takes people a minute to come to that understanding of that was me, that was for me, and I hear people talk about psychics a lot, and you'll hear it in card readers as if, see, and I'm different because everything I say matters, and I do mean everything. If you
Mm-hmm.
listen to any of my videos, put it all in your pocket. It all
That's why I
matters.
journal. That's why I
Yeah.
journal,
No,
because
it's
it's
very
like even
layered.
the forgiveness one. I'm going to come back and journal about that because there's so much in there that I can't
Thank you.
begin to process and remember, and I want to learn more about it because it is so
Yeah.
important. And it's like this big, it's another big piece of the puzzle that is so important for
But it's
our
true
soul's growth.
profound. It's true propheticism. It's truly
Mm-hmm.
profound and it is truly as God. So if you go into the house of God and God gives you three words, it can sometimes take you a whole year to fully come back to the full understanding of those three words. And that is who I am. Okay. So anything you do with me, I will speak the future. Yeah, I can see your past very easily. I can see your present, but I will also tell you the future. Can you change the future? Yes, but generally what I'm speaking of is the foundation of your soul. Okay. So when you
Yep.
come to my videos, and you'll hear a lot of times if it doesn't make sense for you, don't pick it up. Actually, that's not true. You should truly put it all in your pocket. And Lisa, I've heard her tell me this back to me. She goes, I learned from you. I put it in my pocket. I'm like, oh, yes, because
Mm-hmm.
that is the only way we're validated. Then a year from now, that piece is going to come back and we're going to be like, boom, and we're going to have a little piece of an awakening. And you're going to be like, I remember her saying that before. Now it makes sense because you're going to go full circle around in lessons and understanding and in energy. And it also comes in when you're ready, right?
Yep. Which is also
So,
why listening to others' messages is so important too, because just because you might be giving Amy a message doesn't mean that there isn't things that one are relevant for me in this moment,
Yeah.
but might be relevant for me, or something that I really should pay attention to because, I might have a situation come up that, what, I can learn from this.
Yeah, exactly. 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 So what I do is vast. If I sit here and tell you, hey, Horus rose from the Sphinx today, y'all should watch this, and you watch it once, are you going to get it the first time around?
No.
No. Are you going to get it the second time around?
Oh, maybe you'll get more.
Yeah. So
But the
each
more
time you
you heal,
heal.
then you'll get more and more and more. So it's
Yes.
kind of like it's like I said, well, I need to start at the beginning of the path again and go forward now, because how much more I would get out of all of this,
Yes.
would just be incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible.
So
So
when you do my guided meditations the first time, what about the second and third time? Do you get more each time? Something different
mhm.
every time? Yeah. So it
Yep.
goes deeper and deeper. And that's why your dad on his 13th healing cleared one of the biggest karmic pieces of his lifetimes.
Yep.
And
Oh,
each piece of this lifetime connects to every lifetime, right?
yeah.
So what I would tell you, and maybe Lisa's biggest giveaway, I don't know, I won't speak for her. I'm going to give her a little second to give a very quick biggest giveaway or a ending piece. One of the biggest takeaways is what I will tell you is let go of expectations because I'm not like
Mhm.
anybody. And when I tell you I activated pyramids, sunshine, those are your portals home. Every key to your awakening, every key to your path home, every key to God is on this channel.
Yes,
But
it
it
is.
takes digging deep, my friend. It takes
Yep.
digging. So, Lisa, I'm going to thank you for being here. And what is your final gift for everybody before we end this live?
I'm going to piggyback on what you said, because I think expectations, they do a lot of damage, and so does judgment.
Oh,
And
yes.
those two things I've had to learn a hard way, you know.
Of course. Can you hear me? Okay. I lost my AirPods, so now I'm on speaker. So, um, but judgments don't come with judgment. Do your very, very, very best to, hear me in your head. Hear me in your head say, that's not love. If you think something, wait a second, hold it up against love. If it's not love, and you already said it, take it back. Call your power back from it right here, right now. Don't let it go further. Own it, own your truth, because that is how you get your power back. Is you recognized it. Okay, so you said something you shouldn't have, or you wish you wouldn't have, whatever. All right, okay.
Maybe you disliked the return of Christ work. Okay.
Yeah,
Just saying.
I gotta figure out how to turn so I can hear you. Oh,
So what do you do with it? If you made a mistake, what do you do with it? Not a mistake, but
right.
pick up that judgment.
Yeah, you just what I have learned to do is to just not beat yourself up. First of all, give yourself grace. Find some peace in the fact that you recognized it, because change doesn't happen before recognition. So recognize,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
recognize what you did. Okay. It might still happen again because we're learning, we're mastering, but work really hard at, catch it sooner. Maybe catch it before you think it next time. Before you speak it, I mean, catch it and then be able to work on before it, as it starts to pop into the, forming sentences in your mind. It's like,
Internal
whoa, ooh,
discernment.
la, 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 la. Get rid of that. It's layers. It takes time.
Dude, you are learning it, Lisa. You have cleared your karma. You just spoke of internal discernment. You can't see what God doesn't say evil. You guys, when you hear the word evil, that doesn't come from God. Okay. Lisa, both Amy and Roger are saying right on. You've done for yourself and keep affirming oneness. Yes, that is your way up and out. But you just literally gave all ingredients of everything you've been learning and everything I've been saying. If you cannot see it, you haven't healed it. Okay, what God said when he bypassed time is if you, word to the wise, if you can't see everything, there was work to do. Okay,
Yep.
because that's that veil. All right, the more you heal, the more it goes away. The more you heal, the more you see different. The more you see different, the more you choose love. And that was not love. Okay, that action was not love. It was judgment. It was this and that. And that's how you clear your shackles. That's how you rise back to God, because God is unconditional love and He's in the heart space. We were taught to judge. We were taught to be external. We were taught to be numbed to our emotions and to not see clearly. That's the way they want you. They want you divided and unequal. They want you weak because you're a powerful being of light and you're a fragment of God trying to work your way back to Him. So when internal discernment, just like Lisa just said, is applied, those are your keys. Oh, the chills, the chills. And when you're stuck in the third dimensional reality, you can't even see you need to do it. I don't know what you're talking about because I just did. It's true. And she just spoke it very clear. I guarantee you are absolutely cleared and you'll have your key. The key is just abundance. It's everything. It's beautiful.
And
When
not
you can say that thought was not love,
yeah.
you have risen above. When you can say, I won't speak anything but love towards myself, that's a testament to God. Nope. Reverse, track it out, clear it out, call your power back. She learned all this through the path to righteousness. She learned how to communicate with spirit through the Alchemy Academy because they have both. This woman is amazing, and she has climbed mountains upon really truly molehills because it's all about perspective.
Yeah.
We may think it's big, we may think it's impossible, and we may think it's really hard, but that's because we're giving our power away. We have become victim consciousness. We have become weakened and divided. And when you truly unite in love, I'm getting so many chills. Oh my good Lord. You have no idea the power we are, no idea the power we create, but it truly takes love. And what it costs you is being able to internally discern and
Yes.
shining bright and people seeing you.
And don't let perfectionism get in the way of all of
No, perfectionism is what?
that's a shackle.
It's an ego. Yeah. There is no perfectionism. That's why we're not working to perfect. I
We're
don't have to be perfect. If you don't think I'm perfect, goodbye. That's judgment. I'm working to master myself and nobody's whole in a broken world. So see on the flip side, you know what I'm saying? Don't judge me. I won't judge you. We're all broken in a broken world. We should be healing each other and loving each other and giving it space and time rather than judgment. Oh, this girl's got to be crazy because did you think I was crazy when you met me? Wait, no, because you did a healing with me that I couldn't have even known.
Yeah.
So that created a different situation. But you can see how people would judge me. I can see it.
Yeah.
That's cray cray. Like,
But
who talks about activating pyramids?
listening to this, if you've
Yeah.
made it far,
Yeah. Yeah.
please check your judgment at the door because she's not she's not what anybody would what you expect because
No.
expectations come from our ego and what we think and what we have perceived around us, what we know to be true in 3D, and she's not 3D. She's not
Oh.
she's not remotely close to anything you can think of. She's
Yeah.
far more.
Thank you.
Far,
Oh,
far more. And
oh.
this woman taught me and was the first and only person to really show me unconditional love. So I wish to emanate all of that. I wish to give that back in every which way that I can by learning all the places that I need to apply more love. So I can give that and pay that forward.
You already have. You already have. Look how far you didn't give up. You didn't give up and you didn't fall prey to resistance and to the shackles and to the shadow. And you may have judged me, but you didn't judge me. You didn't anchor into that. You're like, I'm just going to hold space and I'm going to keep riding this wave, even though I don't understand what the hell I just did. You're like, I don't know what this pyramid activation is. And I don't know what Mount Shasta really was, and that was shit was overwhelming, but I'm going to hold space. And you kept going. And that is unconditional. I'm not looking for conditions. I'm looking to feel. That's God. That was beautiful.
Great. It's been an incredible journey that I look forward to lasting however long God gives it to me for. So
We're in the new earth, sunshine. Make way for amazing grace. Golden showers and abundance flows. But the best of all is love. No lies, no illusionary base, no fear, no suffering, no carnage. Can you imagine that world? It's here now.
mhm.
It's here now.
Been trying to live in it. I've been trying.
Yeah. Yeah, owning it's a little hard, isn't it? Because it's way outside of what we're used to.
Yeah.
Ah,
Forward to it. And when you talked about the water, with Goose yesterday saying, that and then ironically, that's my element, right? Right now.
oh yeah, in our workshop. I forgot about that water. So her dog, I was doing a healing on her dog, and that's what she's referring to. And I go into the dog just like I go into people. And then Goose starts speaking to her, and he's like, I just need you by the water. I just want to clear your energy because animals are so healing. And so he likes to take her to the water, even though he's convincing her it's her taking him to the water.
Yeah. And then that just played out for me. It reminded me, like, no, it's no wonder that I've had such a pull to the water, and then that's my element, that in this, anyway. And then in the new earth, my home that I have envisioned is on the water, right at the water's edge, because water is so important to me.
Yeah. And here's how true the healings are. The healing on your dog was not well. How's he today?
He's so much better. He was bit on the neck, guys. My other dog had him by the neck, and it, not going into all of that, but it was super swollen. I mean, very, very swollen, back of the neck around the
And
side.
I didn't know that either.
And he couldn't move his head. He would go like that, like he would go to start to shake his head, and he's like, nope, can't do it, hurts too bad. And but that healing was 6:30 last night, my time. And I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the night, he woke me up, because he woke me up shaking. And I'm like, wow, that's cool, Goose. Because it means the swelling was down. Like the pain wasn't so much. So we're talking a matter of, 6 hours or something, maybe 7, less than 8 hours. And he's doing great. He was chewing on a bone here. He was out running around the yard. I mean, he if he had looked like this, he wouldn't have needed a healing. But it was because of the healing that he looks like this today.
Yeah.
So
beautiful. I'm glad. That makes me happy. Because I was so tired. I'm like, I don't know if anything's going to come through. And I had no idea what his wounds were. And so to hear that the quick recovery has ensued just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
So,
I got to leave you with here we go. Come here, Goose. Come here, Goosey. Come say hi.
Aw.
Hi,
Goose.
Goosey.
Oh, I see a face to the body I heal.
What's the body?
Just like, aw.
Oh,
So
there's a
beautiful.
Aw. It's a good baby.
Aw. So
if it says I say thank you. I say thank you. Yes.
Such a beauty baby. That makes me happy. I don't always get to see their face, but I see them. I see their insides more than I see their outsides, but that's okay. I'm blessed. Thank you for sharing that. That warmed my heart. Put a big smile on my face because I feel him. You know what I mean? Like when I do healings, I go into the person, I go into the soul, and I feel their emotions, and I just feel like a part of your family, even though I know only what I know. I don't like details, but I just want you to know I love you. And I thank you for being you. And I thank you for never giving up because of you and Amy and just choosing love and being right by my side, even when others were like, this is crazy. Like, what the hell is this bitch? The illusion just gets so strong, and pushing past through all of that and witnessing the return of Christ, holding space, because that is the one thing that hurts me is that people didn't show that joy and love for undoing the Holy Grail and almost dying 3 times on my journey, bringing through the return of Christ, and not understanding how my arm was shattered and I was casted and my DM died, and to not have people be able to even see that, let alone throw judgment at the return of Christ itself, is something I couldn't have even dreamt about bringing or made up if I tried. That's where my whole heart is empty. So to have you guys on my journey, truly choosing love the whole way, holding space even when it didn't make sense, and seeing the amazing beauty and validations of true God and the true truth of what happened, it is that keeps me going. So you take just as important part in the return of Christ as I did. and as those who choose love. So, with that, I thank you. I thank you for being here. I thank you for speaking your wholehearted truth. And I thank you for healing because we're watching that affect your whole family. And it's bigger than you know. One little decision creates a ripple effect you can't even fathom, whether it be negative or whether it be of love. That ripple effect keeps on growing and glowing and flowing. And so, those who create the ripples of love, I thank you. And those who choose to heal everything that's not, I thank you. That's what matters. That's what's important, to take a step back and go, whoa, not only is she talking about, like, she keeps showing it. I keep showing it. I keep uploading it.
Yeah.
And to have people not give love to God is what hurt me. But I know it's the shadow. So, Lisa, I thank you for being you.
And boy,
I love you.
can't we?
Yeah. What was that?
Boy, can't we have a conversation, huh?
Yeah, I kind of knew it. I was like, I set this live for 2 hours. It's 2 hours exactly. Wait, no.
Oh, 3.
That's 3 hours. Yeah, we went on a ride. We were on that ship for a minute and we rode that ship. And let me tell you, Amy's been here the whole time. Who else has been here the whole time? Raise your hand. If you've been here the whole time and y'all want to get like a free message the next time I do my live, you got it. Okay.
And if Roger's still here too, thank you, Roger, for listening, for opening your heart to hearing all of this, because that's the first step. So
Jamie says 3 hours, but very informative. That was 3 hours. I was told her we're gonna just do this for an hour. But this is what happens when you give God the wheel.
and
I don't go by no timers, I close my eyes and ride the wave. And that's all we ask. Just ride the wave, okay? So we love you. We won't take any more of your Sunday. Go ride your own wave. Enjoy your time. Find love. See the beauty, because the earth is changing every day. So change with her. Okay. All right. So much love, everybody. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you very much. You guys, even though her journey was hers, you would have a different profound experience, but all profound if we let it. So just open the hearts. All right. See you next time. Bye. Bye, Lisa. Bye, everybody. Spirit does not know time. You got it. Love it. All right. So I ended the stream and now I'm going to end Zoom. All right, Sunshine. Thank you for being